Hello, good morning, everyone, or should I say, a good afternoon. is Adriel here calling you live from France on the last week, so far confirmed as last week, the very last week of italki.com's live stream sessions. This is broadcasting live from italki.com/istayAtHome, as well as the YouTube channel. So I will be reading both of your comments, comments from YouTube, as well as the comments from italki.com/istayAtHome. So if you're here with us, please write and say hello. We'll make sure we get back to you right away in case there are any delays. If you are tuned in on YouTube, please switch to live chat so that you can comment, because this is going to be an interactive class today. So I would just like to know who is tuned in right now. Who was brave enough to tune in at lunchtime for a business English class? I know it's maybe not many right now, but yep, so I see Isa, good to see you. I'm getting a message from Alessandra, okay? And is there anyone else who's tuned in? I'm going to keep looking and seeing if any of your comments are coming in. Is anyone else tuned in right now? Okay, we have Isabel, okay. Okay, seeing people that I know have been with me for the past few days. So again, thanks for tuning in. I know that tuning in at lunchtime is something that, you know, it's not always easy for everyone, but I'm glad you're tuning in today to enjoy the live stream class. So I don't see anyone else. Anyone else want to comment? Say where you're from. Some of you I already know where you're from, and we talked yesterday as well as last week. But is there anyone else that can comment right now? Anyone at all? All right, let's see. Again, viewers on YouTube, if you are tuned in, you have to switch to live chat at the top of the screen. That's at the right-hand side of the screen. You'll see something that maybe says top chat. You have to switch to live chat, okay? So if you switch to live chat, you can comment and you can give your thoughts and views as well as your opinion. So, all right, there's some few people coming in now. I've got already a few viewers. Right, cool. I have Laura from Barcelona. Cool. Isabel from Spain, Emma from France, Sergio from Spain. Okay, good to see you. That's a good audience. So we're going to start now. Let's go straight to the presentation. So today we're going to be talking about improving your CV and interviewing skills. So this is a business English class. So of course, if it's a little too technical, you can always ask me questions in the chat. I'm also getting word from italki that you have to also log in to comment. So just so you know, if you're watching this, you have to also log in to comment on YouTube. I think that also includes, yeah. So let's see. All right, I have some people coming in. I have Youssef from Germany. I have Daniel. He says that he cannot hear me. I think the sound is okay, but let us know. You know, maybe it might be a problem with your connection or with your sound. And I have Nasser from France. Okay, so I've got quite a lot of people here watching today. We're going to talk about improving your CV and interviewing skills. However, first thing we have to realize is if we have to improve our CV or interviewing skills, the number one thing we have to do is how we present ourselves, right? This is important. So again, there's this quote here: the success of your presentation will be judged not by the knowledge you send, but by what the listener receives. So do you agree with the quote? What does Walters mean in this quote? What's sort of the meaning of this quote? Again, this is talking about presentation as if you give a presentation. But I'd like to think of this more as presenting yourself too. So what is sort of the meaning of this quote? Let's think about this. A basic presentation or presenting ourselves, right? All right, I have Monica from Barcelona. Okay, cool. And do any of you have an opinion on this quote? Do you agree with it? What does this quote mean? All right. Yeah. Okay, good. So Emma says the message you send through your CV. Yeah, well, it's the message you send through your CV, right? And I think more important too is also knowing that how you present yourself is important, because the way you present, right, and the way the for example, the person on the other side understands you, the interviewer in this case, makes a very big difference. So I have a few comments here. I have Carol from Venice again. Good to see you again. And I also see Elisa from Spain. And yeah, Alessandra says success depends on the impression you give. Yeah. And good, yeah. And Sarah, remember we also said we don't have to say I am agree, right? That would be very Spanish. You'd want to say I agree. You say I agree. This is one thing I see a lot. Yeah, I am. You can say I am in agreement. Sure, that's good. But if you just say agree, it's a verb, so you can just say I agree. Yeah. So that's good. And okay, let's continue with the next part. So what kind of personality are you? Like, again, what kind of personality do you have? What kind of personality are you? How does it affect the way you present yourself to others? How do you present yourself at work, outside of work, right? Let's not just think about something that has to do with presenting in front of an interviewer. Let's think also about how you present yourself at work, outside of work, in general, right? So what kind of personality are you again? And how does it affect the way you present yourself to others? Are you more of an introverted person or more of an extroverted person? Are you someone that is comfortable meeting new people, talking to new people? Because one thing, it might depend what kind of job you take, right? If you have a job that's with the public, right, you need to be comfortable with others and presenting yourself to others. So let's see. All right, we have one person saying extrovert personality, but not too much. Okay, from Alessandra. All right. YouTube. Remember, just as a reminder for you that are logging in, you have to be logged into YouTube and you have to switch to live chat to answer the questions on the right-hand side of the screen. So let's see. Again, how do you present yourself at work or outside of work? Are you a personality people know really well or not? Yeah? Are you all very shy, introverted right now about how you're presenting yourselves? Okay, so so you might think maybe because I'm up here presenting to you that I might be a very extroverted personality. That's not always true. Sometimes I am very shy when I meet new people. And sometimes I am reserved when I'm getting to know new people, right? So as your instructor, I need to be very present and I need to be very sort of I need to be someone that again, you're paying attention to what I'm saying and that you're engaged and interested. But then you might have another job where you don't have to have that personality. You can have a personality where you don't have to talk to people. You can have a personality where it's not really important, right? So yeah, so Emma's saying you're so right. There's the public person, the private one. Yeah, that's definitely true. It's funny. I was watching a movie last night from Francois Truffaut, and it sort of talked about that, the man the public knows and the man that had a secret life that was not a very good life. So again, it's interesting because we're also an audience to his secret life. So again, your secret life, I guess, is something that's exactly that. It's a secret. But when it comes to presenting yourself on your CV, there should be no secrets. Well, at least there should be a way that you're presenting things as if, again, they're part of your life. They're who you are. So just to kind of continue this idea with presentation, right? It's important to be yourself, right? This is the important thing. Now, of course, let's all assume we're all good people. We're all honest people here. So we should just present ourselves exactly as that, people who are honest, who are hardworking, and people who want to do, again, who want to do a good job, make a good impression to our superiors, our bosses, as well as our teams. So in the end, what makes a good presenter? A professional appearance, good eye contact, enthusiastic attitude, body language. What else makes a good presenter? Again, presenting to others is the basis to presenting yourself. This is something that is very important. So, again, is there anything else that makes a good presenter? Let's talk about, for example, when you go and talk to people, right, for an interview, or you have something where you have to talk to the public. How do you present yourself? All right. So I have a few people saying, yeah, Emma says, I am a teacher myself. So as a teacher, I need to be confident when teaching. Yeah, you don't want to have any teachers that lack confidence in themselves. And it's okay too if, for example, you have a situation where you're unable to answer a question. It's okay to say that you don't know or you'd like to know. And a teacher can't know everything, but there is something that needs to be done to show that you are in a position of teaching, really, and a position of confidence. So let's see a few more answers here. Erica says, I'm a bit introverted, right, being the adjective. So I have problems with people who I don't know. Yeah, I guess that'd be true. Yeah. And Marina says it means that sending the message is not equal to the received message, maybe 70% or understand it more or less correctly. Sergio says optimistic, peaceful, and a little introverted. Okay. And yeah, Dima says the voice. Emma as well, voice tone. You can say how you speak, right? If you project, we say you project your voice, really bring it out there. And Alessandra says to overcome objections. Okay, so we have some pretty cool comments here. These are good. Again, there are no wrong answers in the comments. So anything you want to answer that's appropriate to the presentation, or maybe even something that you'd like to tell us, right? Or teach others. You can also help others if you have questions. You are free to do that in the comments. So yeah, let's go to the part about, we're going to talk about CVs now, right? That's just a little bit of 15 minutes to present ourselves. So CVs. Here's what we're going to look at, right? So the first thing is, have you ever written a CV? When was the last time you updated it? How long is your CV? Again, I have to tell you, I have written CVs in 2 languages for 2 different countries. And it's never easy because there's different formats for each CV. There's different ways that you have to write it, format it, and present it. And it's complicated because let's say you want to get a job that you have to provide a CV in English. It's like learning a new kind of language. It's learning a new kind of format. So let's see. What do we have here? When was the last time you updated your CV? And all right, Alessandra says, my CV, it's 2 pages long. Okay, 2 pages long. Yeah, I think mine is a page and a half. Yeah. So one thing to sort of think about is length important? Do you need to tell all of the details? Definitely some jobs I did in the past, I never put on my CV just because, well, there is one problem. Sometimes I see this when I'm looking at CV workshops. I see CVs where people put so many jobs. And what were those jobs? So I look at them, I'm like, wow, this CV is like 4 pages long. This person has done so much work. But then I see this person is still starting their career. There's someone that's a little bit maybe younger. And I started to notice that they were putting in jobs such as internships or small little what we call gigs, like small a small job that lasted sometimes a few weeks, a few months, and I realized, okay, this is cool. It shows that they're always working, but it also shows that they're never committing to anything long enough. So it's better to have 3 jobs where you worked 2 or 3 years each on your CV than 20 jobs where you worked 2 to 3 months in each job, or maybe 6 months at most. So this gives a very strange impression that you're not in a stable sort of job situation. So it's very good to present it in a way that, you know what, if you have 3 jobs you worked 1 year in the past 5 years, just put those jobs. You can explain yourself. Maybe you did a sabbatical. You went on a sabbatical, which is when you take a break, a spiritual break. You don't have to say really much about those tiny 2-week jobs or 1-month jobs unless they are essential to tell your employer, right? So I have a few people answering. Youssef says, I updated my CV 1 month ago. It's 1.5 pages long. Okay. And Carol says, I've written a European CV and I have completed all of the points. It's 2 pages long. Okay. I think 2 pages is a good maximum quantity for a CV because, again, think about this. The employer is going to read many CVs. They do not want to read 25-page CVs. So there's a way to simplify it. So what about photos? Are photos required in your country for CVs? What is your opinion on photos? In the United States, it depends on the employer. So there's no typically, I don't know if it's the truth for the government jobs, but I know that for private employers, it really depends if they ask or don't ask. I've never had to provide my photo for a CV. But have any of you provided a photo? Is it something that's required in your country? Do you have an opinion on this? Erica says, yes, I have. When I was looking for a job, I updated it a month ago and it has 2 pages. Okay. Carol says, total body pic. Wow, a full body pic? That's very strange in my opinion. I don't know why you'd need to see the photo of a person unless they're interviewing for a job that maybe they need to be athletic or strong or something. Okay, so people are saying good things about the photos. So Alessandra says professional photo of a face. Sergio says, of course, photos are very important. I think a photo helps remember you, okay, with a slight smile. Okay. Yeah, I think there are pros to a photo. I mean, why not? It's professional looking. It shows that there's already a face to it and they know who to expect, maybe how you dress, how you look. But the photo, make sure it's a good photo. Don't make sure it's a professional photo because we say in English a photo tells says 1,000 words or tells 1,000 words, because if you have a photo that's not good, right, you might not get the phone call. So Laura says, I've always thought the CV has to be 2 pages long and only the face pic. Yeah, well, me too. I didn't hear anything about a full body pic. So I guess we'll have to get more information from Carol. So have you ever applied for a job or internship? I assume all of you have if you're watching this, but my question is, how many jobs have you applied for? Now, I'll give you a little bit of an example. Before I went into teaching, I used to work in the wine industry. And when I was starting out in the wine industry, I was living and working in California. And I must have applied to, maybe in a few months, I must have applied to almost over 100 jobs. And this was while I was working for a company in the wine industry. So I had experience. But none of the jobs I applied to were jobs that really I was either qualified for or I was either overqualified for. Overqualified. Now, when we say overqualified, right, you probably know this, but I'll just tell you, everybody, overqualified means you're too good for the job. It's a job that you're very professional and you've done a lot. So for example, me, someone that was working on very intense sort of logistical work with retail and sales, they didn't want someone like that working at a wine tasting room, for example. So I never got one. I did 5 interviews for one job to pour wine, and I didn't get the job. And I think because I was overqualified or because they were crazy. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but yeah, I have a few comments here about this. Erica says a facial photo, or just, or yeah, a photo of, yeah, you can say a headshot, we call it sometimes, is important. But if you're going to be part of the army, you need a total body pic. Yeah, okay, yeah. Like I said, I think for certain jobs, definitely important. And let's see. Emma says, yeah, discrimination is a problem with photos, right? And that's definitely true. So I think some people are hesitant to putting their photo because they don't want to be well, judged, right? This is a problem we see sometimes. Even if it is illegal, discrimination happens. And but I don't know. Maybe you should put it though. You know, let's sort of, you know, stop discrimination, right? So let's put our photo. No one should discriminate us, but it's good to be strategic too, maybe. I'm not sure. It depends. Everybody's going to have a different answer about that. And let's see. One is never too good for a job. That's an answer from Emma. Okay. Well, yeah, I would say that definitely you need to apply to more than one job. And last question: were your job searches successful? Did again? Did you get the job? Did you have to apply to a lot of jobs? Because after applying for hundreds of jobs in the wine industry, well, not hundreds, but over 100 jobs, I stopped. I gave up, and I said, I'm going to do something different with my life. And then months later, I got a phone call from a company that had my CV, and they gave me an interview, and then another one, and I got the job. Strange, you know, strange things happen. But again, a lot of it is a combination of being consistent and being lucky, but also it's important to minimize where you apply for, right? Because I was applying for every kind of job there was, and that doesn't make any sense. If I had applied for less jobs, yes, less responses, but more likely to get the right job for me at least, and the right job for you. So again, were your job searches successful? Did you, and if they weren't, did you ever receive advice from a career coach? A career coach, right? That's new vocabulary. A career coach is someone that is, well, what they do is they help you improve your CV, and they help you get a job, basically. With they have their a coach, right? A coach is on a team, and a coach as well can be someone that coaches you to get better at something. Let's see. I have one comment here from Alessandra. No, I made the job myself. Okay. You mean you this is, you mean you have your own business, your own job? You can answer that in the comments if you want. What do you mean you made your own job yourself? And again, has anyone here gotten advice from a career coach? Yeah. Have you had to go and get help? All right, good. So Alessandra's a tourist guide. Yeah. Okay. Good. Tourist guide. Yeah, exactly. Tourist guide. So you can say that I'm self-employed. That's what we say in English. If you have your own job, you're self-employed. Usually someone who's a freelancer or has their own kind of business is self-employed, right? Yeah. You wouldn't say. And let's see. Marina says my job searches were successful. Okay, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. We have some people telling some good sort of ideas about their job searches. Anyone on YouTube watching, just keep in mind, if you are joining the conversation, you have to be logged in and go into live chat to comment. So if you have any ideas you'd like to share about your CV and job search, you can let me know. Let's go on here. More information about your CV. So again, for CVs to stand out, what does that mean, stand out? They need to present a picture of who you truly are. Can't say this enough. Again, so first, know how to present your skills, right? What are your hard skills? What are your soft skills, right? Can you maybe tell me, what does that mean, hard skills and soft skills? What is that when we're writing our CV? Let's see, I have someone here. Dima says, the last time I was looking for a job, the employer found my CV by himself, and it is a really good job. No career coach, though. Yeah, that's okay. I never had a career coach. I had my sister who helped me write because she had a career coach. So she passed on the information for free. She was nice enough to help me with my CV as well, years and years ago. I have a comment from Emma. It also depends on the job market in your field. Yeah, exactly. It depends. Well, it really depends too. Yeah, on the job market, but it depends also. Okay, what kind of job can I do? What are my skills? And what are some other industries or markets I could work in, right? I mean, a lot of people, they want to work in just one industry. That's crazy. There's no, unless you're doing a job that's very specific to the product. Like, for example, in my situation, I would have said, well, I want to sell wine and work with wine, but I worked with it in so many different ways. And I worked with people that didn't like wine, right? They worked in the wine industry, but they did an accounting job. They did a a transportation job. They did logistics, and they didn't really like wine. They only liked the work. They liked doing the work, but they didn't really like wine that much, or they drank it sometimes. But you understand, there's a lot of work for that in the wine industry. So even if you don't like wine, there's work in that industry that you could find, for example. So sometimes it's good to think, as we say, outside of the box, right? What do you want to do? Logistics? For one industry, for many industries, any industry, find out which one is booming, find out which one is less competitive, one that you can get a job, get in and get your work experience, right? Um, I have a few people saying here. So Alessandra says hard skills, it's talents, qualities. Okay. Soft skills is social skills. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good description, I would say, of those two. Again, it's when you're presenting yourself, these are two things that employers look for. Laura says, I have both experiences of job search, positive and negative, and never have had a career coach. Yeah. Yeah. So Marina says soft skills something you can learn. Okay. Sebastian says, I just joined from Sweden. It would be nice to know how to write a CV so I can work in Manchester. Okay, good. Well, welcome. Glad to have you with us today. So we're talking about hard skills and soft skills, and I think we got some good answers on that. So hard skills represent how good you are for a job. Again, budgeting, task organizing, etc. So basically, what are your learned what are your learned skills, things that you went to school for, or things that you have been trained to do by other companies or other employers, or maybe you're someone who trains other people to do those skills, to have those skills. That's a hard skill, right? A soft skill is your personality, right? So yes, social skills, but also, let's say, things you're capable of doing, right? So for example, some people make great leaders. I don't think I could be a boss, maybe one day, but not now in my life. But some people, it's like they're born to be a boss. When they were kids, they were the boss of the schoolyard, right? The king of the schoolyard. They knew how to influence people and lead people, right? Some people are just born with this talent, and some people are not. Maybe some people are better at being sort of like behind the scenes, right? They do things like where they do secretarial work, and they're very good at sort of communicating with people and making them relax and feeling like they're good at delegating information to others, right? It doesn't matter what your position is. It's an important position, and to me, I don't believe that any position is less important than another. We all need it in a company, right? So in this situation, soft skills are knowing you, hard skills are knowing what you know. Okay, difference. Hard skills are knowing what you know, soft skills are knowing who you are, right? So what you can do personally and what you can do based on your experiences. So yeah, these are good. So again, hard skills are your best points. Yeah, I would say they're your sales points. And Erica says soft skills, leadership, positive attitude. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, diplomacy. If you're not a diplomatic person, don't be a diplomat, right? If you're a good negotiator, yes, you could be a diplomat, but think also about what it means to be a diplomat, right? So there's again there's things about that that go into each job position. So yeah, these are good answers. And just before we move on to interviewing, since we have some people that came in for CVs, what are some other things you should put on your CV to make you stand out from the crowd? When we say stand out from the crowd, right, we mean make you different from the crowd, right? So, what are some things that you should do to seem different from the rest of the crowd? So, imagine an employer gets 100 CVs in 1 week. That's a terrible job, right? And imagine they have many other things to do. They don't have a full-time job reading CVs. You know, some companies have an HR department, but even then, managers are in collaboration with the HR department to read CVs carefully. So if they get hundreds of CVs, how are they going to pick your CV? Let's think about this for a minute. What do you have to do to stand out from the crowd? What do you think are some things maybe you should do? You should write. What are things you shouldn't write? You can feel free to share your comments again on YouTube or in the live chat on italki.com/istayAtHome. Okay, so okay. All right. Emma says colored paper. That's very nice. Yes. But that does make it stand out. That's very clever, right? We used to say, I learned this a long time ago. I don't know if it's something you say anymore, but the idea is be a purple cow, right? Why? Because a purple cow stands out, basically. You see a herd of cows, a lot of cows, right? And many cows, right? And you see a purple cow, that's the one you remember because it's purple. Again, it's kind of silly, but it's actually true. You're not going to remember the other cows as much, but you might spend more time looking at the purple cow, maybe how the cow looked, the appearance. It's the same thing. Yeah, like the Milka cow. Yeah, exactly. Good. Emma gets it. She knows what it takes to stand out, right? You have to stand out. Well, it's like any product, right? How is another cheap Milka cow version different from the official Milka cow version, right? We think about that. So, yeah, Alessandro says a colored photo. Sure. I would say that if you put a photo, it should be colored, never a black and white photo. And Monica says, I'm not sure if references makes a difference. Well, I've learned this in the long run. I never put my references on my CV. Never, never. But I make sure I have references. So when I think I'm maybe going to get the job, or when I think, okay, I'm really high up in the interview process, and this is like the last interview before they say yes or no, I always contact my references in advance, and I ask them, is this okay if they contact you as a reference? And that way, let's say they don't contact, great. And if they do, I have my references to give. But don't put the references because, well, first of all, they might not remember that they were put as a reference, right? So there's already that problem. Second problem is they might call the reference before giving you an interview. And what if they say something kind of strange about you? You know what I mean? You don't know. So it's good to know who is your reference before you decide to give it to someone. So let's see, typography, yeah. Bilingual CV, that's a good idea, but it depends on the job you're interviewing for. So and education and experience, sure, yeah. So here's what I'm gonna tell you here. So again, these are fast tips for a great CV, right? Don't turn in a CV with typos, right? So like saying things like informed, right? Not informed, but informed, or motivated, right? Motivated, right? Don't do that, because here's the thing. These guys read CVs all day, so we could assume, you know what, if there's a typo, they'll never see it. But what if they do? What if they think you're an interesting candidate and they see those typos? It's dead. I'm telling you, unless they didn't see your typo, they might not even call you for an interview. Just so you know, it's really serious. Because they need, if they're going to have someone that needs to write, for example, or someone that's going to give a good impression of the company, no typos, right? This is important. Don't add interests that are of no interest to the employer, right? Understand, just because it's called an interest doesn't mean it's interesting for everyone. So, for example, on weekends, I enjoy hanging out with my friends. Don't do that. I've seen that. Don't put this on your CV. It's not. I mean, it's cool. It's great. You're a social butterfly, as we say in English. You're a social bug. Don't put it on your CV. Talk about it later when you have the job. Um, do use language that is appropriate for a CV. So learn what is the right vocabulary for a CV. What are the right verbs? These are things that are important. And do include a cover letter containing professional language. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. One thing that is a big mistake with a lot of people, good. Yeah, Dima already said inspiring cover letter. People think a CV, that's all you need. No, not anymore. You need more than a CV. You need to also have an inspirational cover letter, or one that, because here's the thing, you're presenting yourself. Are you your work? Is that all you represent, is your work and your activities? Or is there a person behind the CV? Tell your story, show your passion, show why you want this job. Again, and you have to really want the job. If you don't want the job, don't write a cover letter for the job. Really think about, this is a job I want, and I know I could get it, so I'm going to apply for it, but I'm going to tell my story. You tell your story, it's great, because then you practice also information for the interview. So I'm going to share with you something that's on the British Council, which is a great website. That's free ESL information. It's golden. And if you look at this website, it shows just a quick text showing why this is a good CV. Again, for a digital marketing specialist. And it says, again, I have 5 years experience in various digital marketing roles. I have a proven ability to create successful marketing campaigns. I'm a strong collaborator. Again, mixing hard and soft skills, already very good. And using language that is direct. Don't use passive voicing. Don't use the passive voice for a cover letter. Use the direct language. This is very important, right? And again, the employment history, right? Talking about this to the present. Don't unless something goes wrong, start looking for a job as soon as you're ready to leave your current job, but don't leave it before you get the new job. Like, again, very important. One job I had, I did not like that job, but I stayed working there until I got a new job, because I knew, I needed to have that ongoing experience. The employer wants to see that you're still working, right? And you can say things like, my role involves, or I have developed. You can also write in an active way, as in the third person, develops advanced knowledge, specializes in driving a successful campaign. And again, just putting that there. Your education, your skills and interests, right? You can talk about that. You can also put that in your cover letter. And of course, the reference available on request. So again, this is important to put all these things, bullet points, gaps, right? Why maybe you didn't work for some time. It's no problem. And sometimes you don't have to really explain why, right? You could still say in some way, the contract ended, or I decided to go into a different industry. You don't have to really tell the truth, but you also need to be careful on how you sell the truth, right? So let's see, I have a few comments that came in here from Erica. I write a summary at the top of the CV, who I am and what I can offer, yeah? And says something like, offer innovative solutions and develop people's potential, sure. And we've got a few people as well coming in at, yeah, so from live chat on I Stay at Home, you can comment as well. But we're going to talk a little bit about interviewing. So this is just a quick review. Again, we have about 20 minutes left, so we're going to talk a little bit about interviewing. So mastering our ability to present also helps us gain business and professional opportunities. So what are the best ways to prepare for interviews? Have you ever given a potential employee an interview? Again, maybe some of you give interviews, right? Um, and what's the best way to prepare for interviews? What are you more scared of, doing interviews or giving presentations? So again, let's think about this for a second. What are you more afraid of, doing interviews or giving presentations? Again, to me, there's no difference between them. I mean, these are things that you plan on preparing for, but you can give your opinion. Okay, so Emma says a mock interview with a friend. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. And let's see, anyone on YouTube commenting, just to see if anyone is here. Yeah, again, what are you more scared of? Again, are you scared of doing interviews or giving presentations to a public? What's easier for you to do? So if you're with me here, all right. So interviews for Sebastian is scarier than presenting in front of an audience. Okay. Well, it's interesting, right? Because usually in an interview, you'll present in front of maybe 3, 4 people max on average, 2 usually, or maybe even 1. So I've done a lot of really strange interviews. Not all of them were very good, but I don't think it was necessarily because of me or in spite of me, right? Okay. Well, if you're there, you can comment on this, but let's continue to talk a little bit about interviews. So again, we can prepare the best we can and still have problems with the interview. Here's 2 big ways we can reduce problems. Be humble. Never upsell yourself if you don't have to, right? When we upsell, it means, again, upsell is when we sell something for more than it's worth, right? You don't have to say that you've done things that you never really did, right? Okay, so for example, maybe you have helped organize things on a team, but you weren't a team manager, right? There's a different responsibility as a team manager than someone who helps organize things on a team. So just, say what you have done. And, again, if it was successful, right, talk about it and use the right kind of language. I'm not sure, but I'm afraid I don't have much experience. However, be a good listener, repeat information, and ask them to repeat any questions for you, right? So saying things like, could you please rephrase the question? And as you mentioned earlier, I think it's very interesting that these are things that show that you're a very good listener. Again, yeah. I have some people saying, Carol says interview is scary, yeah, or you say more scary, right? Erica says during interviews you do not know what they are going to ask. Yeah, Marina says as well, doing interviews are more difficult for me. Yeah, I would say that in a way, it really depends on your personality, but I think preparing for an interview, you can only do so well. In a presentation, you can prepare it yourself. It's your sort of job to present. So if something happens, if something goes wrong, there's no problem. But when you're in an interview, it's true. You don't know what they're going to ask. So you have to prepare ways to present yourself, but also be sort of a good listener as you are having this interview with them. So let's continue here. Again, there's other ways we can reduce problems, but we're going to talk about this in the next slide. Again, let's go to questions. We were talking about we don't know what kinds of questions they're asked. So which of these are appropriate questions, inappropriate, strange questions? Tell us your strengths and your weaknesses. What's your proudest achievement? Can you give us your best friend's phone number? Are you prepared to work long hours. If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be? Just so you know, these are real interview questions, all of them. None of them are, all of them are interview questions we have heard in the past or seen as part of models. And it's important to know what to do when you get this question. So if you get a weird question, so Emma says question number 3 is a weird question. Yeah, your best friend's phone number, right? Why would they ask that question? Well, say, maybe they're asking for a reference. You could say, well, what could you say if you get asked this question? I mean, you could say no, I guess. You could also say that, again, you have a list of references and you can gladly provide your best friend's number if they need another reference, but instead you give them professional references. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to say. Any other questions? Like, how would you answer some of these questions? How would you answer the last question? If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be? I mean, it's a strange question, but maybe you have to also think about this. They ask this question because it's part of their work culture to be maybe a little bit funny or a little bit creative. I know that many companies, especially startup companies in technology, they ask a lot of very strange questions because they're looking and seeing how you answer them, right? Creatively or in a way with a good sense of humor. Because here's the thing, a lot of companies need people who are creative and also people who are funny and patient, right? Because that's the kind of people they want to work with. So understand that if you don't want to work with people like that, they probably don't want to work with you either. So how do we answer some of these questions? Are you prepared to work long hours? What do you think about that question? That to me is a particularly inappropriate question, but maybe it shows also that you have to work a lot when you do this job. Does anyone have any opinions on some of these interview questions? All right. So Emma says the last question and answer can give you information about your personality. Yeah, I would say that's true. I would say that that's a good reason to answer this question. And again, if you're someone that is a creative person, then you'll probably have no problems answering that question. So I don't see anyone else commenting. Well, if you're there with us today, you can comment. I'm gonna just sort of see if I'm gonna refresh the page to see if there's any new comments that have come in. None right now. But yeah, if you have any comments about these real life interview questions, you can let me know in your comments. So, all right. So again, which of these interview strategies do you agree with? Prepare answers to questions or improvise most of your answers? Don't prepare any questions or prepare questions no matter what? Tell small lies to get the job or never tell lies? Give long answers to every question or short, concise answers when possible? So what is a better strategy here when we look at these two separate strategies? What's a better strategy for an interview? Now, just so you keep in mind, I am a professional instructor, so any silence is okay with me as long as you have time to think about it. So, but I would like to know if you have some opinions on some of these interview strategies. All right, so Alessandra says, I prefer long answers and prepare it. Okay, good. So you prepare. That's good to prepare your answers. It's better to tell a story, but be careful. Don't tell too long of a story either. Tell a story that it answers what the interviewer is asking you, right? The essence, the heart of the interview. Let's see, Marina says, I am a rabbit, but I look like a tiger. So you probably would have gotten the job if they asked you that question, because that's a very interesting kind of answer. Um, let's see. Emma says, prepare, never tell lies, and give short, concise answers. Yes, I would say those are good. Those are good things. However, remember, short, concise answers. Don't be too short and concise, because sometimes people will ask you, like, tell me about your experience working on a team, and you'd be like, oh, I've had great experiences. I always get along with team members, and that's it. And if you do that, they're going to think, okay, can you tell me more information, right? Tell a story, right? Have anecdotes, right, and stories prepared for anything they might ask, because you know what, they want someone who has maybe someone who really thinks a lot about their work and about how they are with others. And if they have that, then it shows that they're going to be someone that's going to be easy to work with, because you can talk to them, but it depends too. Some questions might need a very clear or concise answer. Everybody's saying never tell lies. I would say don't tell lies. I would say one thing you should do, though, is, let's say, I don't know, I'm not going to ask anyone personally watching, but let's say someone watching, or someone who would watch this, they were laid off from their job, maybe they were fired, right, terminated. You probably don't want to say that, right? You probably want to say instead something as in, for example, I left due to creative differences, but just be careful, right? Because if they ask you this question, you don't have to say it has anything to do with you. You could say that the company was changing directions, maybe, and unfortunately, my methods of working were no longer compatible with that. So you have to find a way to make it sound a little bit, that it wasn't the end of the world, that in the end, you just weren't the right fit for a company, maybe. There's ways you can go by, but you have to really practice that a lot. And again, yeah, Erica says give a short, concise answer. Definitely do if you have negative questions, right? Like, for example, one question people ask are, what are your greatest weaknesses? I hate that question. I don't like this question at all. If I was an interviewer, I would never give this question, because I don't like it. But a lot of people give it. What are your greatest weaknesses? Okay, fine. That's not a bad question. I don't personally like it. But what, I would say, for example, or you could say is, well, you could say, for example, let's say your greatest weakness is you have you get you're very hard on yourself at work. That could be a weakness, sure. And you could say you try to do everything at once. So what you say is, well, when I am that, I stop, I organize my time, and I prioritize what's most important, and then I go down the list. Now if you do that, you show that you don't have a weakness. You're only human. Oh no, they're hiring a person, right? So they're hiring a person, and that's okay. Now, they are also hiring a person who knows how to take care of themselves, and that's what they really want to look for. Let's see. Yeah, Emma says hates that one too. Yeah, it's awful, right? Maybe we should start our own company and give interviews to people. We should be a game changer in business. Yeah. So let's see. So those are good answers. And just revising again, the do's and don'ts. Interviewing terrifies people. Interviewing in a foreign language could be even worse. So be welcoming, introduce yourself, confirm objectives to prospective employers. That means potential employers, right? Remind employers why you want to work there. This is very important. You want to work there? Great. Tell them why you want to work there, and confirm why you're the person that they want. Move through the answers. Don't ramble, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. And make sure you prepare follow-up questions, okay? And here's what I do. I always do this during an interview, and this is a good idea. If let's say, for example, they talked about certain things to you, memorize those things they talked about, and then ask them questions about those things, because that shows two things. One, that you're listening to them. Two, that you're interested in what they do. And they love that. They love that because that means you're someone that will be respectful to them, right? Now, don't worry about making mistakes. That's like with your language, for example, or if you make an error, just, laugh it off, and, maybe that's good. Use a little bit of sense of humor. Sometimes some people ask you if you have a funny story to tell, so maybe you can talk about a story that you made a mistake and it was very funny and you learned from it. Don't apologize for your level of English. Be confident. Don't worry if you have an accent or if you say a few things. I've interviewed for jobs here in France in French, and I always get so scared I'm not going to do well. And you know what? In the end, it's okay. They know I have an accent and I make some mistakes sometimes, but they also see that if I'm confident and I'm doing well, then it works, right? Don't rush through the topics. Be clear and concise, right? So again, this is something I can't emphasize enough. So again, presenting and interviewing, right, is only part of the most important thing, selling yourself. Good. So I have a question here from Erica asking about salary when you have no experience. Well, unfortunately, I don't know because I negotiated a salary once, and that was because it was more than what I made, but it was still a fair number. And they said it was the right number they were thinking of, so we both agreed on the number. But if you're new to a job, you know what I mean? They might already have sort of an entry level salary. So that's something you shouldn't really ask about, right? They should be able to tell you how much you're going to earn. And if they don't, well, be careful. That's what I'm saying. Just be careful. So again, selling yourself is important when we do interviews and when we write our CVs. And if you find ways in your language to make yourself interesting, you will easily hold people's attention. Part of improving your business language or your English in general involves taking risks. If presenting scares you, if interviewing scares you, give it a try and see what you can learn from it. Yeah. Again, this is presenting, in presenting your CVs, presenting your self in an interview. One thing that I'll tell you is that in that time period that you might do a lot of interviews, you may find yourself doing interview after interview and not getting the job, but you're actually learning how to become someone that gives good interviews. I would say that after many interviews, I sort of know what to expect. And when there's something that's just kind of bizarre about the interview, I kind of feel like, well, you know what? It's okay. I don't think I want to work there. And I think it's, especially if you're interviewing in another language, go easy on yourself. Don't try to think too much about, how you come off. Just be confident, do what you can, and know that if there's something just didn't feel right about the interview or about the employer, even though everything else went okay, they liked your CV, they called you, well, think about if that's a place that really wants to accept you, right? I mean, this is kind of the thing to think about. So again, that's sort of concluding it here today. But I want to remind you once again that you're tuned into italki.com/istayAtHome. My name is Adriel. I am a professional instructor on italki.com. There are many other professional instructors such as myself on the website. You can find my profile by looking at the link below. I will see if it shows up in the comments or on the screen. But again, I really think that it was great to talk to you all today about your CV and about your cover letter. And hopefully you're doing everything you can to prepare for it. If you need it in the future, if you're thinking of changing continents or working for a multinational company. And for now, while we are here staying at home, I hope that everybody is staying safe. Everybody is staying in good health. Everybody is also in good health. I know these are very difficult times and definitely probably not the best time to talk about job searching, but I think that maybe improving your English skills, improving your CV and your interview skills are something that is a good opportunity to practice now when you have the chance. Before the end of the crisis. So again, wherever you are right now, I wish you all the best, and I really thank you a lot for your participation today. Up next, we have Warren, who's going to give a class on IELTS, Task 2 Success, 3 Essential Steps, and later followed by Austin with phrasal verbs. I will be with you on Thursday at 12:45 to talk about cooking and eating out as my final lesson for the live stream. And thank you once again to all, and I wish you all the best here from France to you at your home. Thank you. Talk to you later.
Y mejora todos los idiomas que quieras. Descarga Lingvi y practiquemos juntos.
Este es Peter. Está aprendiendo chino. Ha intentado estudiar por su cuenta con libros, tarjetas de vocabulario y aplicaciones móviles, pero sigue teniendo problemas para hablar. Esta es María. Le encanta aprender inglés, pero no tiene oportunidades para ponerlo en práctica. Con italki, Peter y María pueden recibir clases personales online para hablar con fluidez en otro idioma. Tú también puedes aprender un idioma en italki. Empieza hoy en 3 simples pasos. Primero, elige un idioma. Inglés, alemán, chino, francés, japonés. Italki tiene profesores para cualquier idioma. Segundo, escoge un profesor. Con Italki puedes escoger entre miles de profesores con experiencia de todo el mundo. Tercero, elige el horario de tu lección. Las clases de idiomas online son el mejor método para aprender con profesores nativos. Con Italki tendrás un profesor de idiomas personal y conversaciones reales con hablantes nativos. Cada día miles de personas aprenden con profesores internacionales a través de italki. Encuentra un profesor hoy y domina el idioma de tu lección.
Hi everyone, it's Vicente and I teach Spanish on italki.com. And today we will be talking about 3 grammar rules to follow when you start learning Spanish. The first one is that, as you have already heard, Spanish verbs are always conjugated. That means that they have to match with the subject, the sentence. For example, there are different pronouns in Spanish. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, and ellos, ellas, y ustedes. All pronouns have their own conjugations, and it's very common for beginners to mix them up. So remember this. When you start to conjugate the verbs, they have to match. The second rule is very important as well. The Spanish nouns and adjectives has to be in the same level. Let me explain you this. If you have a noun that is feminine and plural, for example, las mujeres, the adjective that you have to use right after the noun has to be feminine and plural as well. For example, las mujeres españolas. It is the same with the articles las, female and plural. We use this article because, as I say, it's female and plural. The third rule I already mentioned before, and be careful, English speakers, because the adjectives in Spanish go after the noun, not before like in English. This is very common for students that learn Spanish and already speak or know English. When I say it, las mujeres españolas, españolas is the adjective, and I put it after las mujeres. In English, it would be the Spanish woman, but not in Spanish. Okay, there are some occasions where the adjectives go before the nouns. That is true, but normally this use comes out at intermediate level or advanced level, so do not worry when you are a beginner. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the italki YouTube channel over here. Take a lesson with me on italki.com by clicking on my teacher profile link in the description. ¡Hasta luego! Hi everyone, it's Vicente and I teach Spanish on italki.com, and today I will be talking about 7 Spanish words that are similar to their English counterpart. These words are also known as cognates. What a cognate is? A cognate is a word that has the same linguistic variation as another word, and it looks similar, and when you pronounce it, it sounds almost the same. And here I give 7 cognates so you can use them in Spanish as well. The first one is alcohol in Spanish. Guess you know what it means because it sounds pretty similar than in English, doesn't it? Number 2 is conclusión. This one has a different pronunciation in Spanish, but you will understand definitely when you start learning Spanish. Number 3, hobby. This one is completely similar. We basically took this word from English. Number 4, individual. Of course, it's the same word, just different pronunciation. The next one, number 5, is piercing. Yes, we use this word with the same pronunciation and meaning. Next one, number 6, is informal. I like to use this one in my lessons to explain ways to greet and say goodbye because it's similar in English and is a word that the students understand very quickly. And the last are some words related to sports. If you're learning Spanish and you like sports, you're lucky because most of the words are cognates like football, tennis, baseball, volleyball, hockey, water polo, golf, surf, and so on. As you can see, almost all sports are cognates. So, talking about your hobbies should not be difficult. As you can see, there are many, and I would like to remember you that there are hundreds of cognates, and if you check them, you can be ready to your first Spanish lesson. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the italki YouTube channel for more tips on learning Spanish. Take a lesson with me on italki.com by clicking on my teacher profile link in the description. Hasta luego!
Hi everyone, it's Caroline here and I teach English on italki. Today I am going to be talking about business idioms or idioms you might hear in your office or in your workplace. A student asked me a really good question the other day. He asked me whether, because I'm a native English speaker, do I know every single idiom? And the answer is no. Idioms are phrases or expressions that come from a particular place or a particular age group. So idioms are different in the UK to idioms in the United States. I have chosen 5 business idioms to talk to you about today, and you may hear them in an office in the UK or in the States. So hopefully they will be super useful for you. Idiom number 1 is the big picture. Imagine you go into a meeting and your boss says to you, you've lost sight of the big picture. What does that mean? That means that you are thinking too much about the small details of the project and you are so interested in those little details that you don't remember what it is you're trying to achieve. So always keep sight of the big picture. The second idiom is to go the extra mile. Now imagine you're in an interview and the interviewer says to you that they are looking for someone who always goes the extra mile. What does that mean? Does it mean they want you to run around the office every day? No. It means they want you to do more than just what is in the job description. They want you to go that little bit further and to take on extra responsibilities. That is going the extra mile. The third idiom is a win-win situation. A win-win situation means everybody gains something. A really good example of this is these videos that I'm making for italki. italki gains some content for their website, some lessons for their learners, and I have a platform platform where students can see me and book lessons with me. It's a win-win. Italki wins and Caroline wins. The fourth idiom is word of mouth. So an example of this is, think about how you found out about italki. Did you find italki by searching on Google, or did you find italki because one of your friends recommended it to you? Recommendations from friends are word of mouth. It can be positive or it can be negative. If your company gets bad word of mouth, it is going to be a very difficult time for your company because people really listen to the opinions of their friends. So make sure whatever you do, you have good word of mouth about it. The fifth and final business idiom is to touch base. My manager used to say this to me a lot. To touch base means to have a very quick and short meeting about a project or something that you are working on. It might only be 5 minutes of your time, but in that time, you will check that your understanding of the project is the same as your manager's understanding of the project. So I have a challenge for you. In your next lesson, I want you to ask your teacher if you can touch base about what you have learned in your lessons so far. This could be 5 minutes at the end of the lesson where you review all of the different subjects that you have been studying. You're touching base about the things you have covered so far. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to italki by clicking somewhere. And you can take a lesson with me by clicking on my teacher profile in the description box. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Welcome back to the Stop Being Boring When Speaking English video series. When speaking to native English speakers, it's useful to use a variety of vocabulary to make your conversation sound more interesting and flow. Why not spice up your language a little bit and impress others with your speaking abilities? In this next video, we will take a look at some American and British slang.
Number 1, American. John Hancock.
John Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a person,
It's a name of a person, yes.
and it's American slang.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it means?
I just got John Hancock. Does it mean like wasted?
Certainly not.
Give me an example.
Okay, so can I please have your John Hancock at the bottom of this paper? Come on, you gotta get it now.
Is it your signature?
Yes, you got it! That was easy.
Okay, awesome. Number 1, British. Peak. What does peak mean?
Like, taking a peek.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, that's not taking a peek.
That's not slang.
This is taking a peek.
But that's just like taking a peek. That's not slang.
Oh,
Like in a slang
peak.
context.
Like the peak of a mountain? That's not slang. That's actually
Yeah, that is the peak of a mountain.
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay, let me give you an example. So say you go out one night and you lose your purse, your keys.
Is it like the most horrible situation you can be in?
Yeah, exactly. You'd be like, that's so peak. You'd be like, oh, yeah. How was your night? It was so peak.
I just got fired. That's so peak.
Exactly. So it's like the peak of badness, I guess.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the peak.
2, American. Jacked.
Jacked. Does that mean like hench?
Just hench.
Like use the gym.
What's your bathroom slang word?
So the British equivalent of jacked would be hench, I think. So if someone's like really ripped.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So hench.
Go to the gym, work out a
They're
lot.
like, whoa, look at him, he's so jacked.
We would say hench. Number 2, British. Peng. Peng.
Pang.
Peng. P-E-N-G. Peng.
Like someone being hanged on the head with something? Or
Peng.
just thinking of bang and pang. It's similar, I don't know.
I guess it's a little similar. No.
Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, say you're eating a cake, it's delicious, you can say, oh, this is peng.
Does it just mean delicious?
You could use it in other contexts
Does
as
it mean
well.
like it hits the spot? You know?
Yeah, but I could also say that your eyes are peng, or a person is peng.
Just mean like extraordinarily awesome?
Basically,
Oh,
if you're talking about a person, you might even say painting.
Painting.
Like he's a painting.
Okay.
This is mostly
I feel
London.
like it's like a 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the top of top.
Yeah, basically.
Number 3, American. I blew it.
I blew it.
I blew it.
What a nightmare. I blew it.
Yeah.
So that means that you've completely ruined the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say like, I didn't make it into school. So my parents will not be proud of me. I blew it.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah. I'm never late.
Number 3, British. Having a mare. Having a mare.
Having a mare. A nightmare. Like, horrible, real nightmare. In reality, basically.
Very good. That's exactly
That was
it.
a lot easier than the previously.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd go to you. Having a mare. You were having a mare before.
I was having a mare.
Yeah.
Not understanding anything she was saying.
Yeah, exactly. So,
do something and I'm doing something here. I think that I can say idea and talk with people. That is the first motivation for me to come here. The second thing that I can have some money for my life to make my life become better and more comfortable. I offer italki. For each other. He a very good student. He studied very well, and he just learned for he just only studied for 1 month, but now he can speak very much Vietnamese. Later on, yeah, the student and the teacher can meet in a different country, and then the relationship become very good. We drink coffee together, and we go and I ride a motorbike, and I take them along somewhere beautiful together. And we talk together, and then they come back to their country, and we become teacher and student again. We study again. Yeah.
The number of refugees worldwide has reached historic levels as tens of millions of people seek asylum from conflicts in their home countries, even for those able to reach countries willing to take them in.
Hello, everyone. Greetings and welcome to our last session together on these live streaming lessons. I hope everyone is doing well in your homes. Of course, some countries are still reopening, so perhaps you're in a situation where life is resuming back to normal slowly by slowly. So welcome to everyone. Thanks for your greetings, all of you who are saying hello in the chat. Marina, Gracia, and Sarah. Nice to see you all, and welcome. To those of you who are joining again from one of the previous sessions, either on phrasal verbs or email workshop, welcome back. For those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome and thanks for joining. If this is your first time joining us, remember that you can find recorded sessions on YouTube of all of these and below a calendar. So it seems like you've had some very nice classes today, just ending a class with Ardiel. And looks like you had some good business English and a Japanese lesson today. So that's wonderful. So nice to see everyone. Welcome. We're going to learn today about Ielts Task 2. So I'll go ahead and begin my presentation. Guys, we're joined as well by Jeffrey, who's leading the things backstage. So hello to Jeffrey. Everyone say hello to Jeffrey as well. And Jeffrey, if you could, there we go. Go ahead and put my presentation up so we can share this. So today specifically, we're going to speak about 3 steps you must take, in my opinion, my humble opinion, in order to reach Task 2 success on the Ielts writing paper. So we're going to do a quick numbers challenge as usual to warm up. We're going to do this quickly because we've got lots to do. And as always with all of my classes, guys, in these workshops, your participation is super important. So get your fingers ready. We're going to do lots of work in the chat box today. That's how I can see your answers and give you feedback, which is an important part of the class. So we're going to get started with using the chat box, just using a quick numbers challenge. Write this number in the chat box and we'll quickly do some feedback. So the first number, 1,072,000. Write that number in the chat box. I see we have Elena and Isabel also joining us. Hello. And Barbara also. Hello, Barbara. Welcome. We're doing a numbers challenge. Write this number in the chat box now. We're going to try to get through this quickly today because we have lots to do. And Elena's gotten it correct, as well as Alex. Hey, Alex, nice to see you. Welcome back. And Gracia as well. Our next number, 1,796. 1,796. 1,796. Zul's also joining us again. Hey, Zul's, welcome. Alex says, good evening. Here in Tennessee, it is, someone's username is Hello Warren. That's really funny. Looks like that's Maite. Hey, Maite, welcome back. So 1,796, that's good. Zul's, try it again. Alex, well done. 1,796. Next number, 100,020. 100,020. 100,020. So Alex is writing, good evening. Here in Tennessee, I was telling you it's the morning, so I'm still having my coffee, although I've been up for a while. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock in the morning here, so starting my day with you guys. Good morning to those of you in this time zone, and good evening to those of you in the future. So then, good. We have Marina getting this correct. Elena, Barbara, here we've got 100,020. So 100, right. Well done, Elena. 100,020. Okay, for 17,802,004. Sherry, welcome. Sherry, I think this is your first time joining one of our classes. Nice to see you and welcome. And who has the username Hello Warren? That's makes me laugh. You have a sick sense of humor doing that in a live stream class. Okay, so here 17,802,004 is our next number. 7,802,004. Well done, Alex. Alex has got it correct. 7,802,004. So we've got 7 802004. Let's move on then to number 5, 4018. 4018. That's going to be our next number. Something easy for number 5. Something easy for number 5. 4018. And I see we have one of our community tutors joining us. Wonderful. Hi, Mai. Where are you from? So 4018. Well done, Elena. Well done, Zulst. Excellent. Next one, 701. 701. 701. I see Veer has also gotten it correct, and Isabel. Erika joining us again with a correct answer. Hello, Erika. Welcome. Danielle also getting it correct. Good. This one's too easy. Let's do something else. 902,046,009. 902,046,009. So we've got Isabel and Martina also getting this correct. Excellent. Our next number, a bit more difficult. 902,046,009. So Alex and Beat have gotten it correct on YouTube. Well done, guys. 902,046,009. Let's see who can get this correct on our YouTube. On our italki landing page. It's a bit more difficult. I'm going to say it once more. 902,046,009. 902,046,009. Well done. Martina's gotten it correct. Great. And let's just do one more to finish. 430,700. 430,700. Number 8 in our number challenge. Our last number, and then we're going to get moving on, asking some questions to you guys so that I can better understand who's joining us today. So 430,700. 430,700. Well done. We have Nasir joining us. Welcome back. And Isabel Martina getting this correct. 430,700. Okay, so then I have some questions for you guys about your IELTS and past exams. So I'm curious to know, have you taken the IELTS? So if your answer is yes, type gorilla. Yeah, if your answer is no, I want you to type orangutan. Yeah, if your answer is yes, type gorilla. And if your answer is no, type orangutan in the chat box now. So if you have taken the IELTS, you're going to have a little bit more knowledge about how the writing exam works, how it's scored. And if you have taken the IELTS, I will also want you to think about previous scores that you've gotten. If your answer is orangutan, this is the perfect place for you to be because you're going to learn 3 essential steps in order to write a high-scoring essay on the IELTS exam. So I see we have only orangutan answers so far. Very interesting. No gorillas. So everyone is pretty new in this. So that's really good to know. Great, great. So if it looks like there is no one here though who has taken the IELTS before. If you have taken the IELTS and are still answering, I'd like for you to answer also what your band score was. And for those of you who haven't taken the IELTS quite yet, let's talk about a bit of how the band score works. What exactly is a band score? So band score is basically just your IELTS score. It's an average score of each of the 4 sections on the exam: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Okay, this is a score that's given 0 to 9 on your average of each of the 4 sections. And it is also translatable or convertible to the Common European Framework. Several of you have asked about how Common European Framework reference levels correspond to IELTS scores. So I wanted to include this in today's presentation. If you need to get B1 certification, then your score would be between a 4 and a 5 on the IELTS exam. If you want to get a B2 certification, you must get between a 5.5 and a 6.5 on the exam. And C1, of course, would be between 7 and 8 on the exam, and C2 would need a perfect score of 9 on the exam. So it looks like we actually have no one who is a gorilla answer in this session today. So we'll move on to the next question. If you're, are you going to be taking the IELTS in the future? So simply write yes or no if you have the plan or don't have the plan to take the IELTS exam in the future. It's in a lot of the sessions I've had with students on italki recently doing IELTS preparation, there's a bit of confusion whether or not IELTS exams will be moving forward based on the current situation of COVID-19. IELTS exams, according to, I've just double checked also, so I'm confident in this information. IELTS exams are currently moving forward in some countries, right? There are exam centers you must go to. You cannot take the exam from your home. And if you have a question, you should go to ielts.org. There you can find information about whether or not the IELTS exam is happening in your country, okay? So it seems like we've got one person, Sherry as well as Danielle, 2 people now saying that they're going to be taking the exam in the future. I know that a lot of people are kind of just waiting to take the exam because honestly, I think it's quite unsafe to go to an exam center right now and be in a, you know, in a room for 4 hours with a lot of different people. So there's some risk involved. IELTS.org is the place to go if you'd like more information. So there are 2 versions of the IELTS exam, academic and general. And you can also take a computer-based exam or a paper-based exam. Both happen in exam centers. However, there are differences in the paper exam. The paper exam, you're going to get your results in 13 days. With the computer exam, you get results between 5 to 7 days. Okay. The cost of the exam it varies by country. So translate or convert this in your local currency if you'd like to know local cost. But a budget between $215 and $240 to take this exam. And your results are valid for 2 years. So it seems that we've really got a few people who are actually planning definitely on taking this exam in the future. Erika's asking about the difference between IELTS and TOEFL. The IELTS and TOEFL are basically, the big difference now is in the speaking section. The speaking section on the TOEFL is computerized. So they ask you 6 questions. In the TOEFL, you have questions that are just a question about your opinion, like they ask you something directly. And they also have 3 questions that are integrated questions. And those questions, for example, you need to read or listen or read and listen to something. And then you're asked a question based on the content you read or listened to. So you make 6 recorded answers varying between 30 and 60 seconds. I think it's much more pressure, the TOEFL speaking exam. The speaking exam on the IELTS is more of an interview. So Erica, if you have any more questions, feel free to just message me on italki. But that's, I've written a blog about the difference between the IELTS and TOEFL. So if you'd like that link, just send me a message and I can send you the link to my blog that I've written on the difference between those 2. I should also mention, if you're taking the IELTS for purposes of immigration to the United Kingdom, you must take the IELTS UKVI. It's not a different format of the exam. It's just a bit more secure conditions. So make sure if you're taking it for UK immigration, the UKVI is the exam that you register for. So some quick facts about writing test 2 before we move on to do some practice. Writing test 2 on the IELTS is a written argument on a given topic. You've got to write 250 words in 40 minutes. You're scored 0 to 9, and your score is calculated based on the rubric that's public. You can find this rubric also at ielts.org. The rubric includes task achievement, lexical resource, cohesion and coherence, grammatical range, and accuracy as well. So task achievement is essentially how well have you answered the question. Lexical resource, simply put, your vocabulary that you use, how varied is it, how accurate is it. Cohesion and coherence, how, is your essay connected? Are ideas separated into paragraphs? what we're going to be talking about today really is going to help you improve your cohesion and coherence score, as well as your task achievement score. Grammatical range and accuracy is the fourth point on which your score is calculated. That's important as well to note that it's range and accuracy. So you must be accurate, but you also must use a diverse collection of structures in your essay. So I see Kim is asking us, do you have to have a level similar to a native speaker in order to get a score of 9? A score of 9 corresponds to a common European framework level of C2. So you need to have a C2 level in order to get a score of 9. So one last question for you guys. As we mentioned, we've got 40 minutes. You've got to write 250 words. What must you do? Should you A, begin writing your essay immediately? Should you B, begin writing 3 to 5 minutes after the starting time? Or should you C, not write at all? So the essay's just begun. Yeah, you've gotten your paper. You've read the question. You've got 40 minutes on the clock. You've got to write 250 words. What should you do? Option A, begin writing your essay immediately. You've only got 40 minutes, right? Option B, begin writing 3 to 5 minutes after the starting time. Or option C, just not write at all. Just in protest, not write at all. So I see we have some people writing B. For those of you who are answering B, why? Why do you think B is that answer? We have 2 answers on YouTube, a few coming on the landing page. And if your answer is A, why do you think A? Elena says B, you need to think before you're writing. Kim says you need to plan your answer first. So guys, I really think the correct answer here is B. And we're going to talk about the steps you should go through in the first 3 to 5 minutes of your 40 minutes. That's not 40 minutes of just writing. It's 40 minutes you have to produce a nice essay. And you're going to do that by taking some time to consider your topic. Okay, so we've got a lot to do, guys. We're going to keep moving. We have a great pace here. Erika is saying because of planning, absolutely. CCC says, wow, great class. Thank you very much and welcome, CCC, as well as all of you. Pre-writing is essential. Let's speak about why. So let's imagine you're on a plane. Pilot's getting ready for takeoff. What do you prefer doing? Option 1, the pilot downloads the GPS route before taking off. Or option 2, the pilot takes off, then downloads the GPS route once in the air. Yeah, you're on a plane, pilot's getting ready for takeoff. What do you prefer? Option 1, the pilot would be at the gate. Before moving the plane, the pilot would download the GPS route, right? Option 2, the pilot takes off and then downloads the GPS route once safely in the air. So what do you think would be the best option for the pilot? To either download the route before takeoff or to download the route after takeoff? Because of course, you want to make sure you safely take off and get in the air before bothering with the computer components, correct? So we have a couple of people on our YouTube chat saying option 1. I've got to agree with you. Option 1 is the safest. Of course, the pilot should download the GPS route before taking off. It's logical. Of course, that's what we would want him to do or her to do. Just as the pilot must know the route before flying, we must know our content before writing. When you're writing, you have to show that you have a diverse vocabulary, that you use a diverse level of structures and a diverse form of structures accurately. Yeah, you've also got to make sure that you're writing cohesively, that you're using periods when you should, commas when you should, semicolons when you should, that your spelling's correct. Yeah, that your spacing of your essay is correct, that you're writing neatly in order for the Ielts examiner to be able to read it. You don't want to be thinking about what you're going to be writing while you're writing, because you're only going to distract yourself from the most important parts of writing, which are not thinking of content, but writing correctly, writing simply, and writing clearly. Just as you're writing your essay, focus on writing grammar, spelling, punctuation, connectors. When you're writing, don't distract yourself from developing content. Develop your content before you write. So just as several of you had answered B, that is important to take a moment to consider the question and what you're going to be writing about. I completely agree, and these are my reasons for agreeing. By the end of our lesson today, you will know the best strategy to approach a task 2 essay. We're going to practice with 2 essays, and as always, I'm going to need lots of your help coming up with ideas. But first, I want to know, where are you from? Welcome, guys, to today's class. As I've said in my previous sessions, we have lots of time right now, and we can do productive things with our time, or we can completely waste our time. And I'm really happy to see all of you joining us today, doing something extremely productive with your time, learning about English. It takes ganas, as you could say in Spanish. It takes some real will to want to be studying while you could be resting or watching the news or, complaining about the situation. So well done, and thanks for being here. I see we have Spain represented by Isabel, Sherry joining us from Vietnam, Elena from Italy, Gracia and Marta Elena from Ukraine, Gracia and Marta joining from Italy, Kim joining from Korea, Rafaela joining from Italy. Rafaela, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. So we have lots of people from different countries. Ariel joining from France. Super. Magdalena joining from Spain, and that's wonderful. So welcome. It's like we have a little international community here. Marina joining from Luxembourg, Danielle joining from Colombia, Alex joining from Australia, and Elena says that she's from Kiev. Wonderful. So we have also someone from Brazil, and Nina from Slovakia. So welcome to you all. Thanks for being here. So my name's Warren. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm from Tennessee in the United States, but I've been living in Colombia in South America for several years now. And this moment, I'm actually in the United States because of the quarantine. So I'm just here enjoying my time in the country, and also teaching on italki lots right now. So it's been a pleasure to meet all of you actually who've joined these live sessions and taken classes. It's really a great pleasure to meet some of you guys on a one-to-one basis. So I'm a communication coach. I work with students here on italki, and you can access my profile, learn a bit more about my services by going to italki.com/communicate. I'm a CELTA certified English teacher. I've also got a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies, and I also studied Spanish in university. So I completely understand what it's like to be a language learner, and also the importance of communication rather than just simply speaking correctly. A lot of times we can communicate correctly by speaking incorrectly, or breaking some other rule, or just using body language is another way to communicate. So a lot of my teaching philosophy draws from my background on communication, and I think it's something that several of my students have enjoyed. Then I also train for Ielts, which is something we're going to be speaking about more specifically today. In Ielts training, I've taken certifications from Cambridge English as well as the British Council. And here on italki, I concentrate mainly on simulations of the writing exam and the speaking exam. So if you're planning on taking the Ielts and you'd like a simulation, join my profile. You can also see about my conversational class, interview preparation courses, as well as business English and email writing workshops on my profile. So let's talk about the 3 steps we're going to be going through today, and you should be going through always on Ielts Task 2 writing. First, you should always analyze the question, identify keywords and the task. Yeah. after you analyze the question, take some time to plan your main ideas for body paragraphs. And once you've got ideas for your body paragraphs, you should plan content for those main ideas. So these are the 3 steps we're going to be working on today. We're going to be going through steps 1, 2, and 3, analyzing the question, identifying keywords, and our task. And then we will also be planning our main ideas for body paragraphs and content for those main ideas. And I see Alex is asking me if I'm an English teacher in Colombia. Yes, I worked for a company and did a lot of private teaching. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and I was just their English teacher. So it was really nice. But now I only work online. I decided to change away because it's just easier sometimes to work and nicer to work with students from around the world rather than working long term with the same students. So yeah, I was an English teacher in Colombia and continue to work in Colombia. Then today's essay question. This is the question we'll be working with going through these 3 steps. There is a good deal of evidence that increasing car use is contributing to global warming and having other undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So as always, we should revisit the question. Let's take another look at that. Yeah, there is a good deal of evidence that increasing car use is contributing to global warming and having other undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So let's talk about step 1. In step 1, we need to analyze the question by identifying the keywords and task instructions. So let's speak about the keywords we see here. Always when you look at a task 2 question, it's going to be divided into 2 sections. In the first section, this section here, you can find keywords in this part of the question. In the lower part of the question, this is where you can find task instructions. So in the questions we'll be working with today, look in the first part of the question for keywords and the second part of the question for task instructions. So let's take a moment to identify those keywords and task instructions. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to write the keywords that you find in the chat box. So 60 seconds on the clock. Go ahead, begin. Write the keywords that you see in the chat box now. There's a good deal of evidence that increasing car use is contributing to global warming and having other undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So I'm going to give you a little extra time. We're going to rewind this a bit. Take a moment to write the keywords you see from this question in the chat. The keywords, of course, being the most important words that lets you know what the question is about and what you should speak about in your essay. So write the keywords. We've got 34 seconds left on the clock. Go ahead and write your keywords in the chat box now. Let's see who can get this quickly, who can get this first in the italki live stream session of today. So there's a good deal of evidence that increasing car use is contributing to global warming and having other undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. To what extent do you agree or disagree? 10 seconds on the clock. If you're thinking of your essay, if you're, your keywords, go ahead and press enter now. We've got lots of people writing in their essay keywords, but let's take a look at these answers. So Gracia says, for example, increasing car use, global warming and other effects. Erika says, increasing car use, warming, undesirable effects on people's health. She also mentions she agrees. Alex says, car use, global warming, health issues. Nasser says, car, contributing to global warming, people's health. Mara says, increasing car use, global warming, other undesirable effects. Rafaela mentions global warming, people's health, well-being. It seems that we have a lot of similar answers. I see Elena adds undesirable effects. Pilar says, also agree or disagree. So wonderful, guys. These are the keywords that I have identified. Increasing car use, contributing to global warming, having undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. Task, of course, agree or disagree. Yeah, so Of course, we can find the keywords in this part of the question and the task instructions in this part of the question. So that's step one. That's all we've got to do. We've got to take a good look at the question, extract the keywords, because these are going to be what we base our entire essay on. So now we have to understand whether we agree or disagree. Shall we agree or disagree in this essay? Vote in the chat. What's your opinion? Do you agree or disagree with this essay question that there is a good deal of evidence that increasing car use and global warming, increasing car use is contributing to global warming and having other undesirable effects on people's health and well-being? Or do you disagree? So I see everyone is writing that they agree. I also saw Erika wrote that she agrees also. So we're going to also agree with this essay, that writing an agree essay, that increasing car use indeed does have negative effects on the environment, people's health and well-being. Okay, so that's step one. We've extracted our keywords. We've answered the question. We say agree. Now we need to start thinking of content. And good news, the question really helps you do this. Okay, let me show you how you can extract content ideas from the question itself. We need to use our analysis from step one to plan our body paragraphs objectives. So in step two, we're going to be planning our body paragraph's main ideas. And we need to definitely extract that also from the first part of the essay question. Now, as we mentioned previously, we're going to agree, but we're not thinking about that quite yet. Right now, we're only thinking of the concentration of our two body paragraphs, the paragraphs between our introduction and conclusion. So if we look here, we can kind of see that there are 2 points in the actual essay question, right? One point is contributing to global warming, and the other one is having undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. And we need to all tie this together with increasing car use. So in my mind, what we can do is simply say in paragraph 1, address this point. Increasing car use is contributing to global warming. So we speak about this part of the question, right? And in main idea, or excuse me, in our body paragraph 2, our main idea will focus on increasing car use's contributions to undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. So all we do is we kind of make a hierarchy of our keywords. We see that this is an overall theme, and these are our two kind of like dependent factors, I suppose you could say, right? Contributions to global warming and negative effects on people's health and well-being. So we simply do that, identify our main ideas in our body paragraphs. So now that we have our main ideas, we need to move on to step 3. In step 3, we plan content for our main ideas. So in this previous slide, these are the themes, you could say, the themes of the paragraphs. In step 3, we plan actually what we're going to write, right? The content of our main ideas. So this is going to be composed of reasons, examples, and evidence. This is not commentary. I read so many terrible essays that are just simply commentary. They announce a topic and they don't actually give, reasons, examples, and evidence. Make your essay not terrible by using reasons, examples, and evidence. Yeah, you can do this really simply by inventing ideas. You don't have to write about factual studies. You can write about studies that you invent. It's not important whether you write false or fiction or nonfiction, false or true information. What is important in a task 2 essay is how well you express your ideas. So when we're thinking about our content in step 3, we need to think about reasons, examples, and evidence that we'd be using. So let's think about the examples, reasons, and evidence we'd be using in this body paragraph 1. In body paragraph 1, we're going to be speaking about increasing car use contributions to global warming. So if I'm writing this essay, I would say that, for example, carbon dioxide emissions from cars are obvious, have an obvious connection to global warming. Yeah, the more we drive cars, increasing car use, the greater amount of emissions emitted from cars, which mean more detrimental effects on the environment and global warming. I would tie this to the fact that gas accumulation in the atmosphere traps heat, an obvious effect of increasing car use and an obvious relationship to global warming. We could also mention kind of creatively that more traffic, that is increasing car use, traps heat in the asphalt, right? The friction of the tires moving over the asphalt traps in the heat. So those would be quite simply the three ideas that I would include in body paragraph 1, my reasons, examples, and evidence to explain why I agree with the statement in light of this fact that increasing car use is contributing to global warming. It's important in body paragraph 1 that we don't address anything about undesirable effects on people's health and well-being. We need to keep those ideas completely separated in their two respective body paragraphs. And I see Pilar is asking about trap. To trap heat is to keep heat there and not be able to escape. Yeah, to trap something is to keep it and not be able to escape. Okay, so let's speak about body paragraph 2. In this body paragraph, I'm going to need a bit more help from you all. So let's speak about your ideas. How could we say that increasing car use is contributing to poor health and well-being? So what are some of your ideas, reasons, examples, and evidence that support the idea that increasing car use is having undesirable effects on people's health and well-being? Yeah, why are reasons, examples, and evidence that you could, which are some reasons, examples, and evidence that you could include in your essay that say, yes, car use, and particularly increasing car use, is having negative effects on people's health and well-being? What could you say? Yeah, what are some reasons, examples, and evidence that you could use to support this idea? So in our previous example, we were speaking about the relationship between increasing car use and global warming. We mentioned that increasing car use means increasing fumes from cars, increasing gases, and gas accumulation in the atmosphere is a contributing factor to global warming. So that's a relationship that's irrefutable. What are some other irrefutable facts or studies that you could say that suggest that increasing car use has undesirable effects on people's health and well-being? So write your answers in the chat box. Now, I see Barbara is writing, people who live in cities, big cities where there are so many cars have more respiratory problems. Exactly, more cars in a smaller space mean a greater density of gases accumulated. And of course, a dense gas accumulation means more respiratory problems. And I see also, I think you could add also that even, you can have dirtier, living spaces, more dust accumulation in homes, which leads to allergies, for example. Ariel says people walk less. They use more cars. They use their cars more instead of walking. Exactly. Rafaela says increasing car use produces lots of pollution that affects people's health. Absolutely. Marta adds that people spend many hours a day in traffic. Exactly. Traffic produces stress. And when we're stressed, we have a weakened immune system, which means that we're less able to handle diseases such as COVID-19. Exactly. I see Erika is saying that air pollution causes respiratory problems, and Erika also adds noise causes stress. So more cars also, they increasingly lead to noise pollution, which is a negatively affects people's well-being. And you cannot affect someone's well-being negatively without also affecting their health negatively. So wonderful ideas, guys and ladies. Thank you so much for contributing to that. Here are some ideas I would include in my essay, very similar to the ideas you suggested. I would say that cars lead to a sedentary lifestyle. Yeah, as Ariel mentioned, cars, and also Barbara, I think, who else mentioned this? Sedentary problems. Maybe it was just Ariel. Cars lead to a sedentary lifestyle. We could also mention that, people who have cars wake up in the morning, walk to eat breakfast in their apartment, get in an elevator, go down to the garage, back the car out of the garage, go to the office, sit in the office, sit to eat lunch, return to sit to work, return to their homes driving a car, and watch TV for the next 3 hours. I don't know. It's a very sedentary lifestyle. That is extremely negative on people's health and well-being. The second point I would make, for example, more cars equals more traffic equals more stress equals poor health, as several of you mentioned. And another idea is that a car, unlike a skateboard or a bicycle, a car requires zero physical efforts. We just push pedals and move our arms a bit. So I see Alex is adding that cars emit carbon monoxide. This carbon dioxide emits animals and people. Okay, thank you, Alex, for that. Then we would, these would be the answers that were the main ideas that I would include in my essay, very similar to the ones that you have contributed in the chat. So then a summary of our main ideas. Let's take a reminder of those in body paragraph 1. We'd mentioned that carbon dioxide emissions from cars, gas accumulation in the atmosphere, as well as more traffic equals more heat, more friction in the asphalt. Content is king, everyone. We have to think of our content before we begin writing our essay. And now that we have a thoughtful and well-planned guide for our essay, we can now begin writing. So let's take a look. Yeah, we have 40 minutes, 250 words. Let's be real. You don't have much time. Yeah, you should not be pre-writing. We've taken about, I don't know, like 13 minutes to do this. You don't have 13 minutes to pre-write. You've got to practice pre-writing in order to be able to quickly generate ideas. So let's continue our practice. This is our new question. Let's read it together. A growing number of children suffer from obesity. Some people believe the best way to solve this problem is to introduce more physical education in the school curriculum and offer healthier options in the school cafeteria. To what extent do you agree or disagree? A growing number of children suffer from obesity. Some people believe the best way to solve this problem is to introduce more physical education in the school curriculum and offer healthier options in the school cafeteria. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So we're going to be doing the 3 questions together. We'll be using the chat box quite a lot, so get your fingers ready. You'll be answering some questions on the chat. Our step 1, of course, will be analyzing the question for keywords and task instructions. In step 2, we'll plan our body paragraphs, main ideas. And in step 3, we'll plan content for our main ideas in the essay. So let's begin. I want you to take just 2 minutes to analyze the question and write keywords in the chat. So let's put 2 minutes on the clock. Take these 2 minutes to write the keywords that you see in this question in the chat box. Let's read the question together again. As you're writing those keywords, generally when I'm writing an Ielts when I'm writing an essay, I'll read the question 5 or 6 times. It's a missed opportunity reading it just once. So let's read this together while you're writing your keywords. Write these keywords in the chat. A growing number of children suffer from obesity. Some people believe the best way to solve this problem is to introduce more physical education in the school curriculum and offer healthier options in the school cafeteria. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So what are the keywords that you see in the chat, in the in the essay question? Write them in the chat box now. Let's see which are the keywords you've identified. So I see Ariel has written the answer there. We have also got Carolina. Carolina, I believe you're just joining us now. Welcome. And Martina also writing your keywords. Let's take a look at some of these keywords you say. So Ariel writes, children, obesity, physical education in school, healthier options in cafeteria. Carolina writes, childhood obesity or children and obesity, ways to solve this problem, more physical education, healthier food at school. Good. Martina continues, obesity, physical education, school curriculum, healthier options in cafeteria. Gracia adds an answer, obesity, more physical education, healthier options in the school cafeteria. Mara jumps in saying children suffer from obesity, more physical education, and healthier food in the school cafeteria. Agree or disagree? Pilar mentions that childhood obesity solved this problem, physical education and school cafeteria. Rafaela mentions that she agrees with both statements because doing more physical education combined with healthy food is very good. Elena adds that children suffer from obesity. The best way to solve this problem, introduce more physical education, offer physical education in school cafeteria. Good. So lots of great answers, guys and gals. So now I'd like to know whether or not you agree or disagree. Write that in the chat. Here are some keywords that I've identified. A lot of you agree with me here. Children suffer from obesity. Solve this problem. Introduce more physical education in the school curriculum and offer healthier options in the school cafeteria. Of course, the task is agree or disagree. So let's see, do you agree or disagree? Vote now in the chat whether you agree or disagree on this question. Let's see what your opinions are. So what do you think? Do you think that this is going to be a way to solve childhood obesity, having physical education and healthier options? Or do you think that this is not a way? So one tip, I'll give you a free tip here. Don't ever write an agree and disagree essay. Don't write an agree and disagree essay. Don't say that you partially agree and partially disagree. The reason is because it's going to take a lot more time and effort to write a good, like a 7, 8, or 9 level Ielts essay that shows why you both disagree and agree. You need to just select one and write simple arguments, because remember, it's not about the complexity of your arguments on which your score is evaluated. No. It's rather the way you're communicating your ideas. So simply agree or disagree. I see that most people are writing that they agree. Fine. On YouTube as well, agree. So we're going to agree. In this essay. So now that we have our keywords, what should our main paragraphs be? So write your answers in the chat box now. What do you think our main paragraphs should be? So if you are from Italy, I want you to focus on paragraph 1. What would the focus of paragraph 1 be? If you are from Spain, I want you to focus on main paragraph 2. If you are not from Italy or Spain, then write either paragraph 1 or paragraph 2. But now that we know our keywords, what should the main ideas of our body paragraphs be? What's your opinion? So remember, in this, we need to also revisit the question. We need to look at our central theme and look at a hierarchy in the question. So we're, of course, speaking about solving a problem. What should the main ideas, according to the information in this question, right? Because remember, we're not being evaluated on our creativity. We're being evaluated on our English communication. So sometimes bland and predictable essays are much better and effective in an IELTS exam context than essays that would be interesting to read in, say, a newspaper, magazine, or blog, right? So think about what you would write for your main ideas. And since we've not got a lot of time, let's go ahead and speak about what those main ideas could be. So our main idea in body paragraph 1 should be addressing this point here, yeah, the introduction of physical education in school curriculum. More physical education in schools will help children suffering from obesity. So this, for example, could be our first sentence. And in body paragraph 1, we want to say that we agree with this, and we could say this by writing an affirmative sentence that more physical education in schools will help children who suffer from this disease. And then in our main paragraph 2 should focus on the second point here, healthier options in the school cafeteria being offered. So in this point, in our main idea of body paragraph 2, could be that healthier options in school cafeterias will help children suffering from obesity. I see some people are mentioning that media and family should be involved. Those are also interesting ideas, but do not include those ideas in your essay because we're only speaking now about why we agree that children suffering from obesity will be helped by these 2 points in our question: the introduction of physical education in the school curriculum and the offering of healthier options in the school cafeteria. So for those of you saying, like, I agree it's not enough, or family should be involved, media shouldn't be involved, that sounds like for a disagree essay. Yeah, you could write those ideas for a disagree essay, and I think they would be effective to say this won't help children suffering from obesity because it's not enough. And main idea for body paragraph 1 could be family must be involved, and this is why family must be involved. Body paragraph 2 could be the media should be involved, and this is why. But for this essay, remember, we're thinking about what can we write and plan in 40 minutes. So you need to think when you're writing an IELTS essay, not just about what do I believe, what's my opinion about this topic. You need to also think about what is going to be effective to write, what's going to be easy to write, what are kind of predictable ideas that I can express with kind of predictable evidence, because it's not the originality of your thought upon which you're graded. It's the way you communicate those ideas. So sometimes simple ideas and predictable essays are more likely to get a higher score on the IELTS writing test too. So these would be our 2 main ideas for our essay for body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. We focus on the introduction of more physical education in schools and how that would help children suffering from obesity. And in option body paragraph 2, we'd speak about healthier options in school cafeterias, helping children suffering from obesity. So now that we've done our writing, pre-writing, identifying the keywords and identifying the main ideas that we would have in our paragraphs, what could our ideas for our body paragraphs be? Yeah, what would the reasons, examples, and evidence for each of these 2 paragraphs be? So write your answers in the chat box for body paragraph 1. How could we say that that physical education in schools will help children suffering from obesity? Remember, as I've said, we can write predictable reasons. Yeah, it can be simple reasons. But what are some reasons that more physical education in schools will help children who suffer from obesity? I see Ariel is writing that it's important to educate children to eat healthy at a regular time and a balanced meal. Yeah, so we could, in our main paragraph 2, we could say, you know, that also we should include healthier options as well as a nutrition program. Perhaps the cafeteria could include 5 minutes of instruction as well, you know, before children eat their food. A cafeteria worker could instruct on why that option is healthy. What are some other ideas for main paragraph 1? Martina is saying the children might have a choice in the school's cafeteria. So good. Another good idea for body paragraph 2, that perhaps a choice. Healthier options will do that. Here are some ideas that I would include, just since we're running a bit short on time. So you could say, for example, in body paragraph 1, you could say that physical education is a way for children to develop lifelong skills, and obesity is a lifelong disease that must begin the fight against during childhood. Yeah, Marta is also supporting that by saying at school they could become passionate about sports and could do it outside school. Definitely. You could also say that obesity in children and self-confidence are related, but physical education is a way to show children that they can accomplish goals. When we're addressing nutrition and healthier options in school cafeterias, and how that will help children suffering from obesity, we could address a couple of points. And I see Ariel is adding that more physical education at school would prevent children from becoming sedentary. Yeah, absolutely. So for our body paragraph 2, you can include the point I previously mentioned, that perhaps we could revitalize the way a cafeteria works as not just a way of feeding children, but also a 5-minute lesson on nutrition and why it's important to have healthy choices. For body paragraph 2, you could also mention that the current options at schools are loaded with fat, unhealthy fat, sodium, grease. They're not, certainly in the United States, they're not healthy options. So these unhealthy options, they teach students to prefer these unhealthy options. You can develop preferences. Yeah, it's better to let them have the option. And we have nowhere to go but up in terms of how healthy the meals are. Rafaela writes that, I believe that to increase the physical education, there could be an interesting idea that to take up sports that children like. Exactly. So we could teach children a lot of different sports, and that would help them learn. So guys, it's been a wonderful session. Thanks for joining. If you're interested in continuing our conversation in a one-on-one way, you can go to my profile, italki.com/communicate, and you can take your first class with me at a discounted rate. I think it's $9 is how much the first class rate is. I've also got a trial class on there for $6. So if you've got trial classes remaining and you'd like to continue our discussion, it would be a pleasure to meet you on a one-on-one basis. That's something that I'm going to be taking off of my profile in the next few days. So take advantage of that opportunity and let's continue our conversation together. This is my last session of a live stream class. I know several of you have joined us many times. Thank you so much for all of you who've joined today, and also for those of you who have joined today and in previous sessions. It's been a real pleasure to do this, and it's really been such a great opportunity just because of your participation. So I really want to say thank you to all of you who've joined us in this and previous live stream sessions. Don't forget that we've got lots of other live stream sessions coming up for other topics and for people doing studies of foreign language. Nas is leading a lot of Ielts sessions as well. So if you'd like to learn more about the sessions that I've got and the services that I offer, you can take your next class for a discounted rate. Thanks so much for joining. Hope to see you soon. Thanks to Jeffrey as well for leading all these sessions, and stay tuned for more classes. Bye. Thanks so much.
The capital of funny jokes.
Hello, my name is Amr. I'm an Arabic teacher on italki. I'm from Egypt.
Hi, I'm Hussam. I'm from Syria, Al Hasaka, and I'm a teacher on italki now.
3 years ago, I came to Turkey, to Istanbul. Many challenges came in one time. Leaving a country is not, or leaving your home. This is one. It's like fish out of the group.
I mean, yeah, the challenge that my career is almost dead. This is the only challenge now. Online teaching, yeah, it solves this problem, of course, because you can just be wherever and get online and start your class.
What italki offered me is like new students I have never met from another continent, way far from me. Once they want to like learn my language, I feel like this is like, I feel sometimes emotional.
italki, Bessa College and NGO Small Projects Istanbul are working together on this project.
You know, it's important for people to kind of see and get to know someone who's experiencing a difficult time or who has had a difficult past, and to just remember people are people are people. We need to remember that, you know, we have a shared humanity, and I think that gets lost a lot in the media or in the news.
I'm teaching Arabic for first-year students of Arabic in America. We both enjoy teaching and learning online. It's an amazing experience for me as a teacher. I find it so helpful for me, also for the students.
Going into it, people might like have these assumptions that you're supposed to like learn something about refugees or like understand something new. But I think it's like most valuable to realize that like you're not really learning anything new other than that like this is like just another person just like you.
My tutor Mohammed was like so nice and so willing to work with my level of speaking and comprehension.
At the beginning, teaching online was a new experience for me, and it had a lot of challenges, but now I'm used to it, and honestly I'm enjoying teaching Arabic on italki.
I care now. I care more. I care more about the language. I care more about my students. Teaching Arabic is something valuable for me. Maybe give me hope, or I feel gain hope. It's reward for me.
Hi, I'm a language learning app.
Can we move on?
This is a dog.
I don't have a dog.
Repeat after me. This person eats bread.
I want to practice English for my job interview.
Incorrect. You haven't reached this lesson yet. Now repeat after me. This person eats bread.
Fine. This person eats bread.
That's better. Moving on.
¿Cansado de aplicaciones de idiomas inflexibles? Usa italki para aprender como tú quieras aprender y estudiar cualquier idioma con nativos.
Meet Peter. He is learning Chinese. He was studying on his own with textbooks, flashcards, and apps, but is still having problems with basic conversation. This is Maria. She loves learning English, but she doesn't have many opportunities to use it. With italki, Peter and Maria are able to get personal online lessons to help them become fluent in a foreign language. You can start learning a language on italki today. Just follow these 3 simple steps. 1. Select the language. English, Spanish, Chinese, French, Japanese. italki has teachers for every language. 2. Select the teacher. With italki, you can choose from thousands of experienced teachers from all over the world. And 3. Schedule a lesson. Online language lessons are the next best thing to living in a foreign country. With italki, you'll have a personal language teacher and real conversations with native speakers. Every day, thousands of people are connecting to international teachers through italki. Find a teacher today and become fluent in a foreign language.
Hi, my name's Tom.
I'm from the US, I'm a chemical engineer, and I'm passionate about language learning. I've used italki to learn 8 languages to conversational level. I grew up in Colorado, where I was exposed to many different cultures, which cultivated my interest in languages. One of the first languages I became conversational in was Norwegian. I decided to book a trip to Norway. To prepare, I found a group class with around 7 people. Not only were they extremely expensive, it was around $40 to $50 per lesson, but progress was also frustratingly slow due to the size of the class. I heard about italki from a positive review from a famous polyglot. I was amazed to discover that I could learn any language I want, one-on-one, and for the fraction of the price as offline classes. I thought, how is this even possible? I immediately signed up with 2 teachers in Norwegian. One teacher, we would have conversation lessons and go through a textbook, and with the other teacher, we would go through worksheets and chat about random things. So, essentially, I structured the classes in a way that would suit my own learning style, which never would have happened without italki. Within a year, I was relatively fluent in Norwegian. I was so happy that I could actually go to the country and use the language in a practical setting. And the best part is that I really enjoyed the learning process. I thought, why stop there? I picked up Italian and mixed my interest in Italian cooking with lessons on italki. After learning Italian for a year and going to northern Italy, I was able to easily get around and communicate with people. I then decided to set myself a personal goal of passing an advanced Italian exam, and my teacher on italki helped me to achieve this. I was hooked. I'd found the ultimate formula for learning a language from scratch and staying motivated. I would book a holiday in a new country in 1 year's time so that I could put the language into practice. I did the same with Japanese, French, German, Russian, Czech, and Hungarian, and even explored Chinese, Thai, Serbian, Farsi, and Sicilian. From this process, I made so many valuable friendships and connections that has improved not only my communication, but also my confidence. Whether I'm watching the news in German, reading about Italian politics, speaking to my cats in Norwegian, on the phone to my friends in Bergen, or watching fitness and nutrition videos in Czech, I find a way to get at least some practice of one of the languages every day. I found the best way to stay motivated is to align my interests with my language learning, and in that way it doesn't take over my whole life, which people often believe. I find this way of learning on italki so much fun.
Lingvi es una aplicación móvil que ayuda a practicar idiomas de manera instantánea conectando a usuarios disponibles en todo el mundo. Con Lingvi encontrarás personas nativas dispuestas a ayudarte a practicar el idioma que desees aprender. Los usuarios con tiempo libre se mostrarán disponibles para recibir llamadas y de esta forma ganarán recompensas ayudando a otros usuarios. Así es como conectamos personas de forma colaborativa y gratuita en nuestra aplicación. Únete a nuestra comunidad, haz nuevos amigos y mejora en todos los idiomas que quieras. Descarga Lingvi y practiquemos juntos.
Este es Peter. Está aprendiendo chino. Ha intentado estudiar por su cuenta con libros, tarjetas de vocabulario y aplicaciones móviles, pero sigue teniendo problemas para hablar. Esta es María. Le encanta aprender inglés, pero no tiene oportunidades para ponerlo en práctica. Con italki, Peter y María pueden recibir clases personales online para hablar con fluidez en otro idioma. Tú también puedes aprender un idioma en italki. Empieza hoy en 3 simples pasos. Primero, elige un idioma. Inglés, alemán, chino, francés, japonés. Italki tiene profesores para cualquier idioma. Segundo, escoge un profesor. Con italki puedes escoger entre miles de profesores con experiencia de todo el mundo. Tercero, elige el horario de tu lección. Las clases de idiomas online son el mejor método para aprender con profesores nativos. Con italki tendrás un profesor de idiomas personal y conversaciones reales con hablantes nativos. Cada día miles de personas aprenden con profesores internacionales a través de italki. Encuentra un profesor hoy y domina el idioma de tu lección.
Hi everyone, it's Vicente and I teach Spanish on italki.com. And today we will be talking about 3 grammar rules to follow when you start learning Spanish. The first one is that, as you have already heard, Spanish verbs are always conjugated. That means that they have to match with the subject of the sentence. For example, there are different pronouns in Spanish. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, and ellos, ellas, y ustedes. All these pronouns have their own conjugations, and it's very common for beginners to mix them up. So remember this. When you start to conjugate the verbs, they have to match. The second rule is very important as well. The Spanish nouns and adjectives has to be in the same level. Let me explain you this. If you have a noun that is feminine and plural, for example, las mujeres, the adjective that you have to use right after the noun has to be feminine and plural as well. For example, las mujeres españolas. It is the same with the articles las, female and plural. We use this article because, as I say, it's female and plural. The third rule I already mentioned before, and be careful, English speakers, because the adjectives in Spanish go after the noun, not before like in English. This is very common for students that learn Spanish and already speak or know English. When I say it, las mujeres españolas, españolas is the adjective, and I put it after las mujeres. In English, it would be the Spanish woman, but not in Spanish. Okay, there are some occasions where the adjectives go before the noun.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Austin, and welcome to another live italki class. Today, I will be talking about some useful phrasal verbs. This is a topic that is very common now with many English professors, but it's something that I hear very often from my students on italki, that it's very challenging and often confusing. So first thing, please click on live chat here so that you can put questions in the video for me. I will be sharing some content with you guys, but also I want to hear from you. What questions do you have about English? Si hablas espanhol também puedo responderse em espanhol. E se você fala português, eu posso responder em português, se você não consegue falar inglês muito bem. So guys, let's jump into some of my advice for studying and learning phrasal verbs. The first part and most basic component of a phrasal verb is the verb. So I really recommend, instead of trying to learn all of the phrasal verbs first, I recommend learning the verb. Today, I will be focusing on some important verbs. The first verb is the verb get. This verb in English is extremely common, very useful, but also has a lot of ways to use it. So in context, it's confusing because it's not following the context that you might have seen in the past with get. The other piece of basic advice is, of course, to learn prepositions. Typically, a phrasal verb is combining a verb with a preposition. So in order to understand them, some of the basic logic of a phrasal verb, it's good to know the verb and the basic meaning of many prepositions. So some of these prepositions are talking about direction, up, down, or they're talking about motion. So when, for example, when I say get down, the basic meaning is someone is up high and you're telling them get down from there. So in this case, you can kind of apply some logic and understand, okay, I'm up somewhere. The person wants me to get down, to go down from that position. So in many ways, a lot of phrasal verbs are easy to understand because if you know the direction that that phrasal verb is talking about, you can understand the context. But in many cases also, it uses a slang definition with the phrasal verb. So in this example, get down also was a way to say, let's dance, let's party. Tonight, we are really going to get down. This came out around the 70s and 80s, so it was a slang that was very popular back then. And so today we don't use get down as much. But let me just check on the backside. Okay, video, audio are great. Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, so another piece of advice that also makes phrasal verbs complicated. Some phrasal verbs can be separated. And so you can put a direct object or an indirect object with that phrasal verb. For example, the phrasal verb give up. Give up means to quit. So I will tell my students, never give up on English. Never give up. So in this case, give and up, they must stay together. But there are some cases with give up where you can put the direct object between give and up. So for example, I know you have the cup, give it up. So in this case, I'm saying, you know, maybe I needed a cup and I know that someone has it. So I say, I know you have the cup, give it up, it being the cup. So in this case, you can separate give and up. This, I don't recommend that you try to memorize all of the verbs that you can separate or cannot separate. I personally think that one of the best ways to do it is, again, to study the root verb, study the preposition, and then listen to how native speakers use these verbs. Try to write down these examples when you're watching TV or watching a movie in English. I always recommend with the subtitles. Then you will be able to see in context how a native speaker uses this and try to study that list from what you are watching. All right. Also, guys, I want to jump into first the verb get. I want to see if anyone is talking today on the live chat. It doesn't look like anyone is there. Guys, if you are watching, please send me some of your questions. I would love to hear from you guys. And now I will begin sharing these list of phrasal verbs using the verb get. So again, I gave the context of get down. So get down from somewhere. We also have get up. Get up has two contexts. One is very common. It means to wake up. So in the morning, I get up at 7 a.m. I wake up at 7 a.m. So again, you have the verb get, which normally means to receive something, to get something. I got a new car. But also it kind of means to change your status or to change your position. So in this case, get up, get down, it's telling you to get into another position, get into another location. So get down, get up. And again, it's very common to say, I get up in the morning or when I get up. And you can use wake up and get up for the same purpose. There's not a real difference there from my experience. All right. Get away. Get away is very useful for telling people, get away from me. So in this current situation, if someone gets too close, if someone is too close to you, you can say, hey, please get away from me. You can try to be polite and say, please. But if they are really in your personal space, then you just say, hey, get away. This is uncomfortable. Get away. But get away can also mean to escape or to go on vacation. So I have been at home for 2 months. I really need to get away and go on vacation. So get away is another example that has two primary contexts. All right. Get back. Get back is similar to the first meaning of get away. Say, get back. I need you to get back. You're just telling someone, again, to get away, to create distance, to space themselves away from you. So get back. Or, for example, if you have a line, someone crosses that line, you can say, hey, get back, get behind the line. Get out. So get out. If you are in something, inside of something, you say get out. So get out of the car, get out of my house, and then the opposite, get in. So you can drive up, say, hey, get in the car. Again, I'm providing these prepositions to try and show that many of them are just talking about direction. So this should help. I know a lot of phrasal verbs have a different definition, a different context. In many cases, they are slang, so it's not very logical. But when you look at examples like this with get, many of the phrasal verbs that you have with get are simply telling you direction. So again, if you're worried about phrasal verbs or nervous about learning all these new phrasal verbs, I really recommend just take a breath and look at these simple ones. Look at the verb, look at the prepositions, and many of these are indicating direction in this case. All right, so we have get in, get out, get up, get down, get by. To get by something can mean, I need to get by. I need to go by it, pass it. But also to get by can be a colloquial phrase, a slang phrase for just trying to survive. So in this case, some people are just trying to get by because of this crazy situation. It's very difficult, and people are just trying to get by, just trying to survive. So this is something that you'll hear very common in a situation like this that's very bad. Again, guys, let me check if you're watching. Please give me some questions here in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. But I'm going to just keep teaching phrasal verbs, but I really want to hear from the audience and hear what you guys want to know in English. All right. One of the more interesting phrasal verbs, this is purely slang with the verb get, and this is one of the examples that is not really logical if you're just looking at the verb and the preposition. And this phrase is get over it. Get over it, you have to be careful. It can be very rude if you say it to the wrong person or in the wrong situation. Maybe if the person is very sensitive, you would not want to say get over it. Basically, with get over it, you are telling a person to stop complaining or stop being sad or frustrated about a situation. So if someone is complaining, saying, hey, I'm so tired of being in my house, and you just say, get over it. Just stop complaining, get over it. Maybe you could be right if the person is complaining a lot because, we're all in this situation and we have to make the most of it. We have to be positive. But also, it's good to understand that if you say this to the wrong person, then, it could be insensitive. But yeah, let me take a second to speak to our tech guy on the back. There we go. Good. Here are some questions. Okay. Monica. Hey, thank you for letting me know. Okay. I did not know. I do not have a link to the italki page. Jeffrey, is there any way you could send me a link in the back end so I can get the italki comments as well? Thank you so much, Monica, for letting me know about that. Yeah, so if you see any questions, Monica, or if you have any questions, please put those in here. And yes, Alex, great sentence. Cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. Very good. So yeah, this is a good phrase if someone is just constantly complaining, if they're very negative and pessimistic about things that they should not be negative about. This phrase can be very good. Cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. So yes, very good. All right. So guys, in the meantime, please keep posting questions if you're on the italki page. If you can navigate to the YouTube page, it would be a great way for me to see your questions right now while Jeffrey in the back tries to help get the link for me. But I'm going to keep going through some other phrasal verbs while I wait for that link. Okay, here we go. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. All right, guys, let me get this link open really quickly just so I can see your comments and questions you've been posting on the italki page. Okay, there we go. All right, perfect. Thank you again, Jeffrey and Monica, for letting me know. Okay. Alex, I am based out of Florida right now. Originally, I'm from Alabama. So normally I have a Southern accent that's very thick when I speak to my family in Alabama. But since I live in Florida, my accent is a little more neutral. So yeah, good question. András, what about get around? Very good. So get around. This can basically mean to navigate. So I need to get around town. I need to get around town, which currently there's less traffic, so it's easier to get around town. So very good. Yes, Alex. Yeah, right now I have a very neutral accent, but maybe later in the class I can give you a good Southern phrase and you can hear some of my accent. So yeah. All right. Hello, Beatrice, Gracia. Hello, Warren, everyone. Hello, Joseph. Daniel has a question. Okay, in relation to the previous lesson. Okay. So I was not present for the previous class. You're asking about the Ielts task 2. But your question is, to what extent do you recommend the use of phrasal verbs? Great question. Sorry, I just saw it now, Daniel. So some people, some students I have worked with have told me that some professors recommend that you learn a lot of phrasal verbs, and this proves that you are fluent in English. From my personal experience, I have a different perspective. So if another teacher has told you that, I'm sure they have a good reason. But in my case, I will say phrasal verbs are very useful because they're so common in English. So to be basic in your fluency in English, you don't need phrasal verbs. You can communicate without them. Again, in this example, to get around town, you can say to navigate in the town or to navigate around the town. So in many cases, these phrasal verbs have alternatives that are usually more similar to the native language translation. So again, to get up in the morning, it's wake up. So in many cases, you can use other phrasal verbs. You can get around using them. You can avoid using them. But of course, because they're so common, I think it's important to study them. I don't know for the Ielts exams, I don't know how common they are, but in daily conversation, they are super common. So if you're able to slowly study and understand many phrasal verbs, I think it will improve your comfort with English and definitely improve your fluency. So that's a good question. But yeah, let's see. Alex, you're going to sound like To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah, so those are some very thick, very strong accents. Yeah, mine's a little similar to that. The biggest thing that Southern people do is we push together a lot of words. So I'll give you some examples of that later in the class. But yeah, that's what can make it difficult to understand the Southern dialect, because we we don't pronounce every letter that you would normally pronounce in many English words. Eduardo, good question. Could you speak at a normal pace as if you were speaking with someone from your family or a friend? So I'll do that for about 10 or 15 seconds really quickly, because I'm not sure what the normal, the average level of our viewers is. So basically, if I were speaking to my family, I would be speaking like this. It's a little faster. My accent is still clear. I'm going to pronounce everything clearly. But of course, if I were in Alabama, I would be speaking with a different accent. So this would be more difficult because I would be pushing a lot of words together. Could you see a difference there, Eduardo? Just for me, it was mainly just a faster speed, but not super crazy. All right, let's see some other questions. All right, Susanna, hello from Turin in the north of Italy. Fantastic. Guys, if you're on italki or YouTube with me, again, please send some comments. Thank you so much to everyone who is participating today. It's such a pleasure to work with you. Feel free to say hello and also tell me where you are from. I know that we have an amazing group of people watching all around the world. Yeah, exactly, Alex. With my Florida accent, I don't have the Southern drawl, but yeah, later it will come out. Okay, Daniel. Is it polite using phrasal verbs at work? Great question. In most cases, in the standard uses of phrasal verbs, so I'll give you the example again of get down. So in the normal use, if maybe there's an object right here, I need to get this down. So that's okay. In a work environment, that's just the way to say that. I need to get this object down. That's how we would express it. So that's okay. But if you're in a very formal meeting, maybe you wouldn't want to use the slang meaning of get down, like to dance or party. That might be, you know, a little out of place. But in general, yes, definitely use phrasal verbs at work in a formal situation. Because again, like wake up. Oh, I woke up this morning at 6 a.m. That's okay. That's a phrasal verb, but that's very normal, very useful. If you know another way to use it and you're not sure, like, is this phrasal verb slang? Is it going to be inappropriate? If you're not sure and you know another way to express it, that's okay. You can use that. But also in the professional environment, it really depends where you are. If you are working at a very formal financial institution, for example, or perhaps a very formal academic environment, you're giving a lecture to professors or to someone who is very important in the company, the president of the company. In those cases, it would be good to be very, very formal. But normally in American business environments, formality is not as important as being polite and being humble. So if you are being polite and you're being humble with your speech, I think that most Americans in a business environment will feel very comfortable with you. But again, this depends because a lot of business situations and business environments have really changed over the last 10 to 15 years. Even in many corporate banks, for example, they have casual wear. They might even wear a shirt like this on a Friday. And so the tradition of having a very formal business environment has changed a lot. So, you know, see where you are and look at who you're speaking with, and then you can make a better decision. You know, should I be very formal or should I just be polite? Always be polite, of course, but very good question. All right, fantastic. Laura from Barcelona, Erika from Ecuador. That's fantastic. I love both of those places. Barcelona is beautiful, and I visited Ecuador. I have some very good friends in Sarahuasi in the mountains there. So fantastic. Thank you guys for joining. Rachele, from Verona, Italy. Fantastic. So a lot of Italians watching as well. Wonderful. Ahmed from Syria. Thank you for joining us. What a wonderful group we have today. Fantastic, guys. All right, another question from Andras. Does it make sense to learn the example sentences from a phrasal verb dictionary, like drills? Can it work? That's a good question. I don't know of a specific dictionary to recommend to you, but I can say that if you have an idea of which phrasal verbs are common, which phrasal verbs are very useful, I think it can be very good to see them in context, to see them written in sentences, and to practice reading them out loud, especially if you don't know many native speakers in your area or don't know many native speakers to speak with. I think that seeing these written examples can be very good. The only challenge with this is many times when I am doing research, I see some websites that are good websites, but maybe the author is just trying to produce a lot of content. So in some of the examples that I see, if it's a very long article, the other day I was doing some research, I saw an article of over 300 useful phrasal verbs. The article itself overall was good. There were a lot of really important examples, but maybe out of that 300, there were 20 that I would say I would never use. And I'm pretty sure they're not British English either. So in those cases, you might be learning phrasal verbs that are not useful or not common. So that's the risk. But again, I think it can be very helpful just to see those examples and to practice writing them. And then if you are able to speak to a native speaker, then I think it would be a great idea to ask, hey, I have this list of phrasal verbs. Could you please help to tell me if these are some that you use or if you think these sound weird? And again, there are so many phrasal verbs, so many variations that probably even some native speakers will not immediately know all of those options. So yeah, go for it. I think it's a good way to practice. And I want to thank italki again for these classes and just tell you guys, if you do not have access to some native speakers or you are looking to do classes, then please contact an italki professor. My link will be here for you guys as well. So you can go look in my profile and you can book trial classes with me and start doing conversation classes with me. And that's something that I love to do with my students. I love for them to bring questions to class and talk about, yes, this is useful, this is important, and then really challenge you and help you to further your English conversation. So again, that link will be in here for you guys as well. And I would love to be able to get to know you more and help you with your English journey. Good question, Andras. All right. Robert from Valencia. Hello. Fantastic. I'm really missing Spain, hearing all you guys from Spain. My pleasure, Andras. Okay, let me check italki again real quick. Let's see. Any more questions? Okay, so guys, please continue to throw your questions in there. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to jump into some more phrasal verbs. All right, guys. So again, following kind of the way I like to do phrasal verb classes, I like to start with a verb, usually a verb that's very useful or very common in English, and then I like to review the possibilities of having phrasal verbs. So again, if you are studying phrasal verbs by yourself and you want to know, okay, does this verb have phrasal verbs? Feel free to do a search online with that verb and say, you know, what are the phrasal verbs with the verb, you know, get, for example. Ekaterina, yes, get on well. That is very common in British English to say, they get on very well. It just means they are good friends or they're very kind with each other. So great, fantastic. Get it? Very good. Do you get it? Do you understand? Very good. Thank you, Ekaterina. All right. The next verb we're looking at is let. Okay. So I like to pick this group of prepositions. So first I'll say up, for example. Let up. So let up is not really logical because of the direction. It's not saying up, but it's saying to relax a little bit. So maybe if you are in a race, you're running really fast, but you're getting tired, you have to tell yourself, don't let up. If you let up, your competition will win. So while you're running, you're studying English, you're studying phrasal verbs, don't let up, don't relax, keep studying, especially during this time. Christina, let me see. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So the verb let by itself means to allow in general. So let is allow. So in this case, Christina, what she said, let me see, you're basically telling someone, allow me to look at something, allow me to see something. So if someone asks you a question or you ask me a question, and maybe I'm not sure, I'll say, let me see. And then I'll go do some research on my phone for you guys. Let me see. So very good, Christina. All right. So remember, don't let up with English studies. Don't give up. All right. Let down. So again, trying to create a routine for studying these phrasal verbs. Now you have let down. So up and now the opposite down. Let down. Yeah, exactly, Eduardo. Don't let us down. To let down someone is to disappoint. To disappoint someone. Please don't let me down this time. Yeah, very good. So Eduardo, I'll do my best to not let you down. Carlos Miao. Let up could be keep it up as well. In this case, I would kind of say it's the opposite. So keep it up is to continue, and to let up is to kind of stop, to slow down. But very good. So this is another example of how phrasal verbs in English can be very difficult. Keep it up is very good. Keep up the good work. I love to say this. It's very common in English, even in a business setting. Hey, keep up the good work. I say this a lot to my students. It's very encouraging. So bosses also say this to their workers as well. So if you guys are studying English, I know it's difficult, but hey, keep up the good work. Don't let up. But yeah, good question, Carlos. It is tricky. It's very difficult. All right. Let up, let down, and let in. So, for example, let him in. So let him into the house. Let him inside. But to let someone in, let someone in, this can mean physically, to open a door, to let someone in to the house, into the house, but also it can mean emotionally. Maybe you're very closed and you don't like to let anyone in. You don't like to let anyone really get close to you because you're very private, or maybe you're very emotionally closed. So this is a very common phrase to say, hey, you need to let someone in. Let someone into your life. But that's difficult for many people. So this phrase is very good, to let in and to let out. This is so good. I love let out. This is something we all need to do right now because a lot of us are at home. A lot of us are worried. We're anxious. We're scared. We're stressed. And so what I love to say is, hey, we need to let it all out. Let out that stress. So just release that stress. This is another reason why I love to be able to work with you guys on these live stream classes. Let it all out. Let that stress out. Find a healthy way to release that stress. Eduardo, don't let the cat out of the bag. Very good. Yeah. So in this case, you're using kind of the basic logic of let and out. So the cat is in the bag and you're allowing the cat to go out of the bag. So very good. So the basic meaning is don't let the cat out of the bag, but this is where it gets tricky. This phrase is, of course, many of you know, it means to not tell the secret. Don't tell the secret, okay? Don't release that information that nobody should know. So don't let the cat out of the bag. It means, hey, just be chill. Don't tell them the secret. Yeah, so very good, Eduardo. Christina, yeah, the classic phrasal verb, keep calm and carry on. Yeah, carry on is a great phrasal verb. It just means to continue. So exactly, in this case, we want to keep calm and carry on. Yeah, so very good, guys. All right, let's check again on italki. Do we have any more questions? Rafaela, Edith, okay, you don't see what I'm writing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the link to the YouTube. I hope this isn't too confusing. So the link to the YouTube channel, if you guys copy and paste that, that's where I'm responding. So I'm so sorry, guys, if you're in italki, if you can't see the responses. Let me back up on italki. We've got some more comments right here. Okay. Marina from Luxembourg, fantastic. My wife and I are actually going to Luxembourg in the fall once all of this crisis is over. So we love that country. It's an amazing country. Dima from Belarus, hello, fantastic. Thank you for being here, Dima. Great question. How can we learn phrasal verbs faster? Great question. I'm going to stick on that one. So again, if you guys can, let's go to the YouTube. That's where I'm putting all the answers. And I'll answer this question. So how can we learn phrasal verbs faster? So when we talk about learning English faster, learning vocabulary faster, the two sides that you have to deal with, you have the input and the output. So the best way to increase the input with your English, with your vocabulary, is of course to read, to listen, to watch videos, to watch TV shows with the subtitles in English. So you're getting a lot of English put into your head. When we apply this to phrasal verbs, we want to try and find content that uses a lot of phrasal verbs. So I think a lot of TV shows that are more casual, maybe some nice comedies, some funny American TV shows, they usually use a very casual speech. They're not going to use very academic or very sophisticated vocabulary like a documentary, for example. So if you're watching these TV shows, a lot of people love Friends, for example. They're using very common language. They're going to use a lot of phrasal verbs. So when you're watching and you're reading this content, you're reading some casual reading books, some casual articles, you're going to be able to see these phrasal verbs in sentences or hear them spoken, and then I'd recommend writing them down. So this is what I do. I like to write them down. Again, if you're studying them on paper, you can separate the verb and then look up on the internet all of the different types of phrasal verbs that go with it, all the different prepositions, and then you can practice writing the definitions. So that's all for your input. Then the really important part, the output. You need to practice speaking them. You need to use those phrasal verbs in the proper context. This is sometimes challenging. So again, if you book classes with me, with another italki professor, you can bring your list of vocabulary, bring your list of phrasal verbs to those classes and speak those sentences. You can prepare a paragraph or a small dialogue and use those. But also, if you know other native speakers, even if you're messaging them, as long as you don't use a dictionary while you're typing, you just use what you know in your head, then you're still practicing using those words. That's output. So I wanted to explain that first because your question, how do you learn them faster? The best way is just to study more and use them more. If we only study, we only have the input, then it's very easy for us to forget vocabulary. I just started studying Chinese yesterday, some basic vocabulary words. I wrote them down. I practiced saying them many times, but until I actually start saying them, start practicing speaking, my mind is not really going to memorize those as something important. So that's what I recommend. Try to speak as much as possible. And when you're studying specifically phrasal verbs on the internet, make a list and then bring those to your classes, to your conversations with your friends. And when I lived in Spain, we used to have conversation nights at our favorite cafes. So try to organize something like that where you live, or try to find some existing groups where you can go with other people who are learning English or who speak English, have a coffee, have a great time, and then also use those phrasal verbs. Don't worry, don't be ashamed. Bring that list of vocabulary with you. That's what I did. You know, I would write my list of vocabulary for the day, bring that to conversation night, and then try to use them in sentences whenever possible. But great question. All right. I'm going to take another sip of water and let's keep rolling. Eduardo, great questions, man. Keep rocking. Do you ever say this? I think this was really common in the 80s and 90s, but it's definitely something that you can still hear today. It's not super common, but if you say it, people will understand it. And I think many Americans will love to hear that. They'll think it's funny, but in a good way. Like, hey, keep rocking, man. It just means another thing we can say, keep doing your thing. Just keep doing your thing, man. Like, you're doing well. You're doing good. Keep it up. Keep doing your thing. Keep rocking. So yeah, definitely you can use that. So go for it, Eduardo. That would be, I think it would pleasantly surprise any American that you're speaking to. Hello, Matias. Maite. Is it logical studying phrasal verbs with the same partile? I'm sorry, Maite, can you please send that question again? I didn't understand. Oh, with the same particle. Okay, sorry, that's my bad. Yeah, with the same particle. So again, with a phrasal verb, we have a verb and a preposition, usually, or a particle, right? So in my case, I like to, again, start with the verb and then look at which prepositions, which particles go with that verb. So if you try to study with the preposition, for example, up, and you say, okay, let me study all of the prepositions, all the phrasal verbs with up, I think it will be overwhelming because there are going to be thousands of them. So I would recommend starting with the verb first, and then, you know, with that verb, say, okay, use up, down, in, out, on, off, through, away, and start going through that list. Exactly. So up and down, on and off, in and out, those are very common. Through, by, away, those are some of the really common prepositions that you will see with those phrasal verbs. So good question. Okay. Eduardo, another question. Most people who study a foreign language usually do 90% input and 10% output, me included. Yeah, so ideally, we'd be able to balance that, like a 50-50 or a 60-40, or even in some cases, depending on your level, you know, if you're at an intermediate fluency level and you feel comfortable speaking, then it would be good to have 20% input and 80% output, where you're just speaking all the time. So this can change. I won't tell you there's one way to do it or there's one way that's best, because this really depends on your situation. It really depends on your level of fluency. If you are just learning, so again, in my case with these basics of Chinese, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of input. Maybe for the first 3 months of speaking or of learning Chinese, I'm going to have 90% input, 10% output. Because in my case right now, I don't know any Chinese speakers here, any Mandarin Chinese speakers here that I can practice with. So yeah, my situation, I have a lot of input. And once I have some basic fluency established, when I feel comfortable, then I'm even going to look on italki for some Mandarin teachers. And then I'll be able to kind of balance that input and output. But it really depends. When I was younger, I studied Japanese. I did one class because I had a 2-month trip to Japan. So in the beginning, it was 90 input, 10% output. I got a basic level of fluency. And then I went to Japan for 2 months and it flipped. It was 10% input. You know, I didn't have a lot of time to study. And then every day I was just using all of the words that I knew. And I was writing a list every day of the words that I was learning. So yeah, I would say if you're at a 90-10 right now with input and output, that doesn't mean that you're totally wrong, but you definitely want to increase output as much as possible. So don't stay there. But that's not a, you know, it's not a problem. Sometimes that's just the situation. That's how it is. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. All right, guys, looking back on italki. All right, Lily from Brazil. Oi, tudo bom? Welcome to the live stream, guys. Again, if you have questions, please write them here. I'm going to jump back into those phrasal verbs. Okay, so let out. That's where we jumped out. Okay, going on to the next phrasal verb for today, break. Break is a very good, simple verb, to break something, to kind of destroy. You know, I can break my pen in half. So break is fun because many of the phrasal verbs connected to it do not really make sense if you're just looking at the preposition. So one of the most common and probably sad ones, if it's happening to you, is to break up. So in one way, this is like when you're dating someone and you stop dating. So your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and then you separate from your girlfriend or your boyfriend. This is called breaking up. Exactly, Christina? Yeah, to break up, to split up. So in this case, if you break up with someone, like, oh man, last week, my friend broke up with his girlfriend. Oh man, that's a bummer. They broke up last week. To break up, you can also break up a fight, break up a meeting, for example. So basically, you're separating people. Like Christina said, you're splitting it up. You're dispersing. You're telling everyone, hey, go away. So if there's a fight and you go to that fight and you're breaking it up, you're trying to separate those people. You're breaking up a fight. Also, to break up, if you're talking on the phone and the voice quality starts to come in, out, you're breaking up. So, hey, sorry, I can't hear you. You're breaking up. So this is a great example. Breakup is fantastic because there are 3 contexts, 4 if you count the basic context. And this is just one preposition with the verb break. So this is, again, why it can be challenging in English, because some of the phrasal verbs have one meaning, but in this case, break up, it has 4. And so if you're not a native speaker, you don't hear these all the time, or in my case, my entire life, you know, I'm learning these phrasal verbs. It can be discouraging. So again, if you're studying English and you feel like you're at this wall of phrasal verbs, don't be discouraged. If you feel like you're studying so much and you're not making much progress with phrasal verbs, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to stop and study something else, because I like to think of language learning also like working out at the gym. That's another phrasal verb, working out, to work out at the gym. It's like exercising. So if you're studying a language, just like at the gym, you don't want to do the same muscle every day for months and months. That's not healthy for your growth, not healthy for your body. So with English as well, if you're studying phrasal verbs all day, every day for months, you might get really good at phrasal verbs, but it can also cause you to burn out. Another phrasal verb, just to get tired, to want to quit, to have no energy, to burn out. So I don't want you guys to burn out with phrasal verbs. And so again, in this class, I hope it's really helped you guys. We still have about another 15 minutes. But yeah, burn out some calories. Good, Christina. You can also say burn off some calories as well. So very good. Yeah. So we got both of those: burn out, out of energy, burn off. Very good. Okay. Andras, another comment from you, my friend. I think phrasal verbs can be really dangerous when one mixes up prepositions, can lead to serious misunderstandings and inappropriate things. Yes, this is a challenge with English. I think in most cases, the mistake will be funny in a good way. I think that the native speaker will understand what you want to say, and maybe they will laugh a little bit, but don't ever be sad. Don't ever feel frustrated. I know if you're nervous and you're speaking and you make a mistake and you see someone laughing, I know that can be also very discouraging, but don't worry about that. Many times if you have a native speaker who does not speak with foreigners often and they hear this mistake for the first time, it can be humorous, it can be funny, but it does not mean that they are laughing at your English level. Me, as a native speaker, I would never do that. But when I'm speaking to my wife, sometimes she says funny things by accident, just like I do in Portuguese when I'm speaking with her. Sometimes I say funny things by accident and she laughs. So we have to just be comfortable, be brave. It's okay. Don't think that that person is laughing at you. I'll give you one funny example. So maybe I'll tell you, hey, let's make up a story. Let's make up a story. Like to invent a story, to create a story, to make up something is like to invent a story, to invent something. But if you say to make out, there are two meanings. Make out means to kind of perceive, to see, like I can't really make out what that sign says. But to make out is also to kiss for a long time. So of course, if you're trying to use a phrasal verb make up and you're like, yes, we need to make out something. And, you know, the native speaker is going to think it's funny. You know, they're going to laugh, but that's totally okay. So if you make that mistake or you make a similar mistake, don't feel bad. Don't be scared to make those mistakes because it's okay. And even it's a positive thing. If I hear a foreigner say, hey, we really need to make out a story, I'm like, no, that's not it. You know, you don't want to kiss a story. So I would explain that with no problem. I might laugh, but again, it's not laughing at the person. It's a humorous example. So, you know, just use your English, use whatever you know, and don't worry about those mistakes. Sometimes it can be frustrating if you're trying to communicate and you use a different preposition and then the person doesn't understand what you're trying to say. But that's why I'll also say, I recommend if you're studying phrasal verbs, look at also another way to say that in English. So again, to make up a story, to create a story. So when you're studying, don't just study in your native language to English, but with phrasal verbs, I recommend studying from English to English. So that way you're learning more vocabulary, and if you're in a future situation where you're not sure what to use, or if the person doesn't understand you, then you probably know another way to express that verb. So great comment, Andras. Everybody faces that. So yeah, that's a great comment. And I really, guys, really appreciate all the participation today. This has been so much fun working with you guys. We've got about 10 minutes left. So any final questions? I would love to hear from you guys. Again, you can book a class with me on italki, a trial class or a conversation class. It would be such a pleasure to be able to speak with you guys and continue working with you. I really focus on setting goals with English, setting goals that you can achieve that are realistic and that are relevant to your life. So this is how I work with my students. I've been on italki for a long time and really enjoy it. So let's get some more questions. Christina, yeah, don't worry about mistakes. Every little mistake is going to be all right. Exactly. When I was learning, I was getting my certification to teach English as a foreign language. My professor she's from South Korea. So it was so amazing that, think about this. A woman from South Korea she has such an amazing level of English. She is teaching native speakers how to teach English. So shout out to Dr. Kim. She is absolutely amazing. But her English was wonderful. And she had spent over 20 years, studying English in a professional, very academic way. So she is really amazing. But she calls them beautiful mistakes. This is something that's common in the English teaching field. We tell you guys they're beautiful mistakes. It's not a problem. And I have students of different levels of fluency. Some students who speak very little English. So if you guys are from Brazil, you speak Portuguese, you speak Spanish, if you're from Spanish-speaking countries, I can also help you with your basic language skills there, because I can also teach you in those languages. But don't be scared of mistakes. If you do, then it's going to take a long time, and you're never really going to use your English to its full potential. And I know that from personal experience with learning Spanish. It took me many, many years to feel comfortable speaking in Spanish, because I was always hesitant. I was always embarrassed and worried. But when I started learning Portuguese, I met a lot of Brazilians, and I just said, hey, let me get rid of this embarrassment. Let me forget about that and just use the Portuguese that I know. I made a lot of mistakes. My accent was not good, but it's definitely progressed a lot. So again, don't worry about those mistakes. All right, guys, coming to a close. I'm going to drop a few more. Let's see. Jeffrey, if you're still on here, could you throw my link? But to break down something means to disassemble something, or it can mean emotionally you broke down. You're having an emotional breakdown. So he broke down and cried for an hour. So in this case, to break down and cry, man, so emotional. You just are super sad. You're overwhelmed. Also, car broke down. So his car didn't work. His car stopped working. His car broke down. So that's another way to use that. Since we're running out of time, I'm going to throw these in for you guys. To break in something, particularly to break in some new shoes. Yeah, to break in some new shoes, you're making them comfortable. When you buy new shoes, they're kind of hard, kind of stiff, kind of uncomfortable. So you need to break them in, right? You need to make them feel comfortable. Break out. Break out can be to escape, like to escape from prison. Or it can mean like maybe on your face if you have a rash. A rash broke out on his face. Oh no. So, oh my goodness, his skin broke out. Her skin broke out. So I'm writing these examples for you guys just in case you're watching later. Hope you guys can see it. Hello, Sydney. We are finishing pretty soon for today, but if you have any questions, please throw it in the chat. All right, break off. To break off something, if you have something that's on a wall, like to say the pen is on a wall, break it off the wall. And break through. Breakthrough is very good. If you also need a breakthrough, it means you need progress. You want to get through this difficult challenge. I really need a breakthrough. So with English, maybe I feel like I'm stuck. I'm at a wall and I need to break through that wall. So that's what I hope you guys can do today with this video about phrasal verbs. I hope that it's helped you to break through to the next level of your English studies. Guys, again, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. I really want to thank italki for doing this amazing initiative. And again, guys, stay safe. We're going to be wrapping it up soon today. I think that was András that said that, where Eduardo, yeah, say something in Spanish to wrap up. Okay, bueno, entonces para los hispanohablantes, muchísimas gracias por acompañarme aquí. Vosotros podéis, si quieres, entrar en mi cuenta de italki con este link y hacer clases conmigo. Si tengas un nivel básico de inglés, no hay problema, porque yo puedo ayudarte en espanhol também. Também para os brasileiros, as pessoas que falam português, vocês podem marcar aulas comigo. Mesmo tendo nível básico, não tem problema, porque eu posso explicar as coisas para vocês em português também para ajudar. Assim, muito obrigado, muitíssimas gracias a todos que estão aqui comigo. Thank you guys so much. And have a great day. Maite, merci pour être ici avec moi. Thank you guys so much today. And I guess we're going to call it. All right. So on Thursday, I will be here again on the italki live stream. I'll do an earlier class. It's going to start 1 hour and 15 minutes earlier. Así el jueves voy a hacer más una clase al vivo aquí para vosotros 1 hora y 15 minutos antes de empezamos hoy. Assim, espero veros allá. Também para os brasileiros, eu vou fazer mais um live aqui com a italki na quinta-feira, 1 hora antes. All right, guys. Take care and be safe. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.